Happy Tuesday. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Thank you for joining us. You know the deal. Over the next 2.5 hours, we're going to get you to live breaking news, developing stories, live interviews, live events, all of that happening within the next 2.5 hours. So I don't want to waste any time. We want to go to a breaking news story happening right now. We're following a situation in Monroe. So I want to catch you. I kind of want to backtrack, and then I want to give you the update and information. So we got reports of a gas leak at Tyson Foods facility in Monroe, but we learned, and let me pull up this information from Monroe Fire Department. Hazmat crews have entered the facility and confirmed the leak is now under control. There is no longer an active leak happening. So I want to mention that again. So Monroe Fire Department hazmat crews entered the facility and confirmed the leak is now under control and there is no longer an active leak. No injuries are reported. This is an active investigation, so we're working to get more details. We actually have a crew. Are they there yet? Not there yet, but a crew on the way to the scene to get more information. Again, a gas leak under control at the Tyson Foods facility there in Monroe. You can see there, that's a map of where this facility is. This is on South Seacrest Avenue and Hasty Street.
Right off of Andrew Jackson Highway.
Right off of Andrew Jackson Highway. Thank you, Carlene. That's 74, okay. Yeah, we're learning this in real time, and I'm reading the map in real time. Squinting a bit, so if something sticks out for you, Carlene, just let me know.
We've got a towing company, we've got an RV and boat storage place, we've got a pool place, we've got there's stuff around.
Okay, all right. Thank you for. And again, this is generally a busy area. We were talking about this before we went on the stream, but again, I want to update you again. Monroe Fire Hazmat crews have entered the Tyson Foods facility there on South Seacrest Avenue and Hasty Street in Monroe, and confirmed the leak is now under control. The gas leak is now under control. There is no longer an active leak. The good news: no injuries reported. This is an active investigation. We have a crew on the way to the scene. As soon as they get there, we're going to pop up the shot. We're going to take you there, and we're going to update you as soon as more information comes into our newsroom. So, again, that's the story that's developing that we are following right now, and we will continue to update you on live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, so let's shift over now. We want to take you to a press conference that's actually happening as we speak, and that's Attorney General Jeff Jackson. He is in Boone today for a joint news conference with law enforcement officials, warning residents in Western North Carolina about scams and fraud as they rebuild after Hurricane Helene. It's been more than 6 months since Hurricane Helene hit Western North Carolina, hitting that area hard. Again, that news conference is underway right now, but we wanted to back it up to the very beginning in case you missed it. So we want to play this news conference again. It's happening right now we speak, but we want to play it from the beginning. Let's listen in.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jeff Jackson, Attorney General for North Carolina. Just had the opportunity to meet with local law enforcement leaders, spoke with them about a wide range of issues. First among them being the rebuilding phase that we're in now post-Helene, a number of concerns, but also emerging concerns related to some things that we're seeing, some things that we're concerned about when it comes to keeping people safe while they're in the rebuilding process. Then we had a more general conversation about various public safety issues, fentanyl, methamphetamines, scams, unrelated but still prevalent in Western North Carolina. Want to get into a little bit of detail about that, but before I do that, want to make sure that I recognize the folks who are here and give some folks an opportunity to say hello. I'm really grateful that our SBI director, Director Hawley, joined us for this. He joined us because he understands that this is not just a regional priority, this is a statewide priority. The SBI plays an instrumental role in making sure that law enforcement can do their job and keep people safe. And Director Hawley, if you would just join us up here, I would really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity that the Attorney General and the sheriffs and chiefs and DAs of the state of North Carolina has offered us to participate. We want to make sure that we're a good partner. We want to make sure that we are doing what's right behind the citizens of North Carolina, especially in western North Carolina, where they've been taken advantage of. We're going to make sure that we support sheriffs, chiefs, and DAs across the state, and the Attorney General's ability to be able to make sure that we do great partnerships throughout North Carolina.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
And Sheriff Hackman, please. Our host today.
Well, thank you. This was much needed and kind of a surprising outcome with this, because we were able to involve our state and local entities that are here, and that's one thing that really helps us is our local partners, and this came together very well for us, and we appreciate the Attorney General's office and his staff for putting this together. And all of our partners are here except maybe for one. We even had our chairman of the county commissioners and another county commissioner who are a liaison with us, and we really appreciate it. There was a lot of good conversation that came out of it, a lot of things that we need to work on, but I feel very strong now that with the continued cooperation that we have and kind of coming together more on the state and local levels, that we're going to be in good shape. So thank you again, Mr. Attorney General.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sheriff, please.
I would just like to say that I appreciate the Attorney General's support today, and coming up here and just having the conversations of things about the things that we're facing, that we have faced during this Helene, as well as other matters that he has extended his support for, and it's always good to have that support from our perspective from the Attorney General's office. So thank you.
Very kind. Thank you. What you're seeing is law enforcement speaking with one voice. We are going to do everything in our power to keep people safe while they're rebuilding and beyond. We had a good conversation about some emerging concerns that we have. Property crime, always a particular concern, particularly in the aftermath of major natural disasters. Scams related to the recovery. Some folks holding themselves out as government officials, sometimes holding themselves out as law enforcement, sometimes pretending that they have access to special money like FEMA money. And then a conversation about the potential with respect to contracting fraud. Look, there's going to be a major demand for contracting in Western North Carolina. If you're a contractor, your services are in need, but you better treat people fairly. You better be honest. We are not going to tolerate at all any contracting fraud. Anyone who tries to take advantage of people while they are struggling to rebuild is going to face consequences. The law enforcement leaders that you see up here are shoulder to shoulder on that. There is no daylight between any of us when it comes to how we are going to scrutinize bad actors who are taking advantage of people in this time. A couple of specific pieces of advice for folks at home, specifically with respect to contractors. First, always get multiple estimates. Second, get a written contract. You have a right to a written contract. And third, don't ever make the full payment up front. This applies not just to contracting, but to a wide range of potential scams. Some things that we're seeing is full payment up front is being demanded, and then either services are not being delivered or goods are not being delivered. If you want to negotiate some kind of down payment, you can do that. But anyone who demands full upfront payment, don't do that. At NCDOJ, we are launching our Safe to Rebuild initiative, which means we are prioritizing any and all complaints coming out of Western North Carolina. We've also set up a new website to help educate people about how to properly vet contractors, also alerting them to potential scams related to the recovery. That's at Safe to Rebuild on our website. We also just want to make sure that citizens at home who are struggling with the decision about whether or not to stay in Western North Carolina, asking themselves whether or not this is still the best place to raise their family, we want to send a very clear message to you. This is the best place for you to raise your family. We want you to stay here. Law enforcement is shoulder to shoulder to make sure that you and your family will be safe here, that you can rebuild your small business here. So for anyone who is on the fence about whether or not to rebuild, we want you to make the decision to rebuild here. We want you to know that you're safe to do that. Now, happy to take any questions.
Start on this side. WCNC.
You got, go right ahead.
Can we ask the sheriff some stuff?
Of course.
Mike, Glenn, have you seen people getting ripped off already? Have you seen some problems here in the high country? You guys tell me.
Has maybe some things that are a little bit more related. We've been fairly lucky here in terms of post-Helene, any kind of issues. As the Attorney General said, people need to be aware. That's the main thing, is to don't get caught in that trap and get ripped off. So from that standpoint, we are definitely, if we do have something come up, we know who to call now. So.
I would just echo what Sheriff Hageman said. We, not seen a tremendous uptick in fraud as it pertains to construction fraud. We anticipate that may increase, due to the building season coming on. So, our objective is just to get ahead of this, and I think that's what the Attorney General's objective is to get ahead of this and educate folks, on being cautious, how they handle getting repairs and those type things that have come as a result of this storm, and just to be aware that there are unscrupulous characters out there that will come in and take advantage of any situation. So this is just an effort to educate our folks and another way to keep our communities safe.
And just to follow up on that, we're in a scam-heavy environment right now. We had a discussion about lots of different types of scams that folks are seeing. Our major concern is that this is going to become a type of scam that's going to hit the community, going to hit Western North Carolina. We are trying to get ahead of it by letting folks know to have their guard up, but also to let folks know, to let potential criminals know who are thinking about trying to take advantage of people, that they will face the consequences. Yes.
Say someone was victimized, 6 or 7 months ago. Could they still come forward and expect an investigation?
Yeah, absolutely. If you feel that you have been a victim and it was maybe earlier in the aftermath of the hurricane, be in touch with our office. We will run it down.
Attorney General, I know you said it's a scam-heavy situation right now, and we're also dealing with, all over the state, AI with RealPage. I'm curious, I know you reached a settlement with one of those landlords today, what the impact of that is as well, especially on renters, and just that increase in AI that we're seeing.
Our office took to court a handful of landlords who we believe were unlawfully using artificial intelligence to raise people's rates. We just announced that we've reached a settlement with respect to one of those landlords. It's a major landlord. The use of artificial intelligence here was basically to allow price fixing. So a group of landlords, they are not allowed to meet in the back of a restaurant and decide what rates to charge, but they were essentially using artificial intelligence as a stand-in for that type of in-person meeting, allowed them to share proprietary information to the detriment of renters. That is just one way that we are starting to see artificial intelligence used. Another is voice duplication technology. So folks are getting a call from someone who sounds exactly like their grandson, saying, "Grandpa, I was just arrested. I need you to send me some bail money. And I need it to be in cryptocurrency," or something like that. And it's a combination of AI plus cryptocurrency that's opened up a new tsunami for scams that's going to require a lot of public awareness and education.
When it comes to scams after Helene, we have heard complaints like things like people ordering heavy machinery to try to rebuild and then not getting that machinery, things like that. Can you talk about that and what people can do to prevent getting in a situation like that?
A lot of scammers try to focus on big ticket items because they only have to do a couple of scams to make a significant amount of money, which is why we're seeing a lot of reports with respect to heavy equipment. And either payment is being made in full and nothing is being delivered, or some variation on that. This goes to being extremely cautious with respect to in full upfront payment. Also, when this stuff crosses state lines, we've seen an uptick in those instances being fraudulent as well.
Following the storm, what have you all seen in terms of like looting or any property crime?
I was meeting with someone rebuilding their restaurant a few weeks ago in this region, and there were some cameras there, and he pulled me away from the cameras because he didn't want them to hear what he was going to tell me. He said, I'm about to take delivery of some copper pipes because my restaurant was destroyed and I have to replace all my pipes, and I don't want anybody knowing because I'm afraid that they'll be stolen. There have been some reports of theft from construction sites, particularly during this phase of the rebuilding when more expensive equipment is starting to get delivered. So we want folks to be aware that that's a real threat, but we also want criminals to know if you engage in any looting, you will face the consequences. You are looking at shoulder-to-shoulder law enforcement from this entire region. You will face consequences. Anything else?
Will this alleviate landlord and renter tension? I know I've heard personal anecdotes with landlords not making the state of their buildings known to renters and then having Helene come in and then just condemning those buildings. So will this try to prevent that?
Well, I think that's something I would have to learn a little bit more about, but it's something my office is happy to consider. So if there are any reports or complaints of buildings that are substandard, deficiency, particularly if it's a public health concern, what I would like people to do is report those to our office. We will prioritize those complaints and we'll respond quickly. You got it. Anything else? Anyone else here have any contributions? No? Open mic. Open mic. Okay. Very grateful for the opportunity to have this roundtable discussion. I should have mentioned we also had a good discussion about some trends that we're seeing with respect to fentanyl and meth. There's going to be a lot of coordinated law enforcement response. There already is, but we're looking at new ways that we can coordinate our response to help keep people safe. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you very much. Thanks, sir.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. That was a press conference that happened just minutes ago there in Watauga County in Boone, where Attorney General Jeff Jackson, along with law enforcement officials, warning about scams as the recovery efforts from Hurricane Helene continue. So we brought you that, again, that press conference. We wanted to start that from the beginning, even though that press conference just wrapped up, just to make sure you're not, you didn't miss out on anything. So you can also go back and watch that full press conference on our YouTube page. That's WCNC Charlotte's YouTube page. All right, we want to go back now to a story, developing story that we've been following is breaking news. This is in Monroe. So right now you're looking at the Tyson Foods facility in Monroe, where there was a gas leak there at that facility, prompting evacuation. You saw what it looked like workers there at that facility. And you had response teams from Monroe and Charlotte to go out there to combat that situation. So here's what we have right now. I'm reading this from our website. Emergency crews are currently addressing a gas leak at the Tyson Foods facility located on South Seacrest Avenue. All Tyson employees have been safely evacuated from the building as a precautionary measure, ensuring their safety amid the ongoing incident, and that's according to officials that we cited. Now, the Monroe Fire Department hazmat team is actively working at the scene with additional support requested from a hazmat team based in Charlotte to assist in managing the situation. So about 30 minutes or so ago, we got word from the city, from a city spokesperson in Monroe, that the gas leak was brought under control. No injuries have been reported. Again, authorities are urging residents and people that are driving, maybe walking through that area, to avoid the area while crews work to resolve this issue. Again, we have a crew there on scene. We got that shot up just minutes ago, so we wanted to take you back there live to give you this update. Again, within the last 30 minutes or so, we have learned from City of Monroe the active gas leak was brought under control. Again, that's according to the city. No injuries have been reported, but authorities are urging people that live nearby, people commuting nearby, walking nearby, to try to avoid this area as they work to resolve this issue. And we are expected to get an update soon from authorities there on scene. As soon as we do, we will bring that to you live. But you can see their workers are hanging out outside that facility right now. As this gas leak, that's the good news. The gas leak is under control at the Tyson Foods facility on South Seacrest Avenue there in Monroe there. So we have that live shot up. As soon as we get more information, as soon as we get that word from authorities that they're ready to speak, we'll bring that to you live and get that to you right here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right. Let's shift away for a second. We'll stay here at home here in Charlotte. So as spring break and summer travel starts to pick up, you can expect, more people out on the road. But that leads to an increased chance that you could find yourself in dangerous situations. We're talking about road rage. Now, officials say traffic deaths that stem from road rage incidents have risen dramatically over the past several years. Now, WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre, yesterday, she spoke with Highway Patrol. She actually spoke with experts and instructors around how to stay safe during these types of incidents. Again, more people are going to be out on the road, especially with school out. People traveling for the summer, spring break. CMS is out for spring break right now. So she spoke with folks to let you know what you need to do in these situations and how you can keep you and your family safe. Let's listen in.
My name is Doug Herbert, and I am the founder of the Brakes Teen Safe Driving Program.
Perfect. Talk to me about road rage in general and what makes it so dangerous.
Well, right, everybody's life is stressful. So you're driving down the road and you're already stressed out because you're late or whatever, and now all of a sudden somebody cuts you off or somebody throws a gesture at you or whatever. There's a lot of different reasons for road rage, and dealing with road rage is something that probably everybody needs a little bit of help with. So it's dangerous, right? People are weapons and all kinds of stuff nowadays. So we need to be it's definitely something that needs to be careful.
When we're talking about ways to deal with it, what are some of the things you teach or tell folks to make sure to do if they're dealing with someone who's trying to engage?
Well, yeah, some of the easiest things to do is kind of plan your time. So because running late always makes you, raises up your anxiousness, right? You're running late, you got to get somewhere, and so you're kind of being in a hurry. Planning a little bit and not being in a hurry, that's probably the easiest way to avoid getting in a bad situation. And then when you run into another driver that's that's being aggressive, that's following too closely, get out of the way. We tell teenagers that come through the program, and the parents, right? Teenagers learn their habits from the parents, we found. So we tell parents, hey, get out of the way. Let them go. It's it's not a big deal. If you're on a road where you can get into the right lane, get into the right lane. If somebody's being pretty aggressive and right behind you or beeping their horn, flashing lights or whatever, pull off. Pull off and let them go. Don't make eye contact. Making eye contact with somebody is that kind of escalates the situation. So you just kind of focus on the road, pay attention to driving the car, and do what you do.
And I'm still researching and trying to get stats and so forth. Do you know if just from you and school and things, whatever you guys look into, is there time frames? I know summertime, sometimes things heat up, but where you see more road rage incidents?
Well, in traffic situations, the more traffic, the worse traffic situations there are, road rage tends to creep up because people are in a hurry. And all of a sudden now they're in a traffic situation, so they're running behind, and that escalates things. That's probably the number one. So, you're going to be morning rush hour, afternoon rush hour, big situation. Road construction, anything that causes delays tends to rise up the incidence of road rage. If somebody's being aggressive to the point where they're going to try and run you off the road or get you to pull over, pulling a weapon out on you, then it's time, yeah, call the police. I would recommend not stopping. Don't stop. Keep your windows up. Like, do your own thing. Drive your car, pay attention to what you're doing. And if you can, generally when you don't pay attention to somebody road raging and you're trying to get out of their way, they're going to move on, So if you can, that would definitely be the best thing to do. But at the point where somebody pulls a weapon on you or is trying to cut you off, yeah, you dial 911. If you're near a police station, something like that, pull in there. That's a good place, because road rage is probably not going to happen in the parking lot of a police station. Be in a popular area, a well-lit area, not in a remote, deserted area. That would be obviously a bad place to stop and pull over.
When you hear incidents where someone has, fired a gun during a road rage or hit another car road rage, what goes through your mind? We're all humans, right? And so we all get excited, we get aggravated. But at the end of the day, we're all here living together and figuring out how to get along. And, it's like merging. How simple is that? I've driven in other countries and they make it real easy. This car goes, this car goes. It's like a zipper, we just explain it. Hey, it's like a zipper. When you drive with a little bit of being courteous to the other drivers and the other cars. And sometimes if it doesn't come back to you, then you just ignore that person and you kind of move on. Don't let yourself get caught up in a situation, and just do your own thing. Like back in my days where we're racing, you always say, hey, you got to race your own race, and it's kind of the same thing on the road. You got to do your own thing on the road. You got to pay attention to what you're doing. Let the other drivers go that are going to try and cause a problem, and do your own thing.
And that was Jesse Pierre's full interview with the driving instructor regarding road rage incidents. Again, more people are going to be out on the road. Summertime, springtime, folks are definitely going to be in a hurry to get to their destinations. So that's good sort of instructions and things to do to keep you and your family safe there on the roads. All right, now we want to shift over to the state capital, North Carolina State Capitol. In Raleigh. This is the North Carolina House Judiciary Committee, and right now they are talking about House Bill 38, if I'm correct. Okay, this is the Financial Privacy Act. They're talking about several bills, but this is the bill that they're on right now. And again, this is an act to, okay, I'm reading this in real time, folks. So this would, the right of individuals to keep and bear arms is guaranteed under both the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution and Section 30 of Article 1 of the North Carolina Constitution. I'm reading the bill and what is laid out here, but again, this is House Bill 38, the Financial Privacy Act. Let's take a listen in.
Representative Jones, we've missed you.
I know, I was in another committee, but anyway.
Would you like to ask one question, or are you going to have a series of questions?
A couple, three.
You're recognized for a series of questions. Representative Pearl, you're recognized to respond to those questions.
So let me understand the state of the law now. They have a system where they can track firearm sales and the type of firearm.
It's really the merchant code. It's the merchant that's assigned the code, and if they sell firearms, they track the sales of the firearm.
And how would this bill change that in North Carolina?
It just says that you can't assign a merchant code to a merchant, exclusively recognize them as selling firearms.
Okay, so we'd take down the present system, and after that, how would you...
Representative Jay, can you speak in the mic, please?
How would you track it if you take that down? And that's all I'm...
Well, you still have to fill out the paperwork, federal firearms license.
Federal.
Go through the NICS check.
Okay. Was it tracking a problem for somebody?
Well, the concerns was brought to me, and it's hard for me to defend why somebody that purchased a firearm with a check or cash should be treated any differently than somebody who used a Visa card.
I got you.
And if the federal government's not allowed to keep a repository, why should the private sector be allowed to keep a repository?
Okay. And one other question I'll be done was, for the people wanting to change it, concerned because someone had abused the information?
Well, you'd have to ask the people that wanted to change it. I don't want to speak for them folks. I just tell you that it come out of Switzerland through the international, International Organization of Standardization. They're the ones that kind of set the parameter in the banking financial industry for credit cards.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for those questions. Any other questions or comments by any member of the committee? Seeing none, I know there are several people that have signed up to speak on the bill. Mark Shallow, I know you've already spoken, but once again, please state your name, who you represent, and limit your comments to a minute, please.
Thank you, sir. My name is Mark Swallow, Democracy Out Loud. So let's be clear what the International Organization of Standards is. This is the ICO, right? We all know about the ICO. They are not a left-wing political organization. They establish standards for manufacturing, to technology, to food safety, to healthcare, right? And they were asked to put this standard together, this category together, MCC 5223, firearms, ammunition, and accessory stores. And they were made that request by banks and payment networks because those entities are required by law to report suspicious activity. And they didn't have a way to separate between a fishing rod and an ammo or arms that are being purchased. So this was generated, right? And by doing away with this code, then we're going to lose some transparency, right? It's going to make it harder to spot patterns that may signal trafficking, fraud, or preparation for violent acts. And it's going to and detecting those patterns is going to remove potential tools preventing mass shootings and gun trafficking. So once again, we're putting guns and secrecy ahead of children's safety and families. I'd ask you to not pass this bill.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Chris Kopacki, you state your name, who you may represent, and have a minute to make your comments. Thank you. Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Chris Kopacki, representing the National Shooting Sports Foundation. We're here to support HB 38. And just to put it forward on the record, 20 states now have banned this practice. And there'll be a couple more coming on board this year as well. We really don't believe private entities should be creating lists of constitutionally protected purchases. And the 3 states that do mandate this now, there still has not been one example of this where this has stopped any type of suspicious activity. With that, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Sarah Kettle. Welcome. You state your name, who you represent, and please have 1 minute for your comments.
Sure. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Sarah Kettle, and I am here on behalf of the National Rifle Association to communicate our support for this bill. As you've heard, it would provide critical privacy protections for financial data of those purchasing firearms and ammunition in North Carolina by prohibiting entities from facilitating or processing payment card transactions from assigning the MCC code for firearms retailers. Collecting this data amounts to surveillance and registration of law-abiding gun owners and could allow them, this data could be shared with other authorities and potentially private third parties. And as Chris also said, 20 other states have already prohibited this practice, and it has not been shown in any state to have actually stopped any sort of suspicious activity. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Paul Vallone. Please state your name, who you may represent, and you have a minute to make your comments, and welcome. Thank you.
My name is Paul Vallone. I represent Grassroots North Carolina, the state's primary Second Amendment advocacy organization. We support House Bill 38, and we regard the use of any merchant category code that tracks firearms as being a de facto gun registration system, and quite frankly, the information from that system would be available to the highest bidder. So consequently, we oppose the use of firearms tracking both as a de facto registration system and a means for suppressing firearm sales. Accordingly, we ask you to give a favorable report to House Bill 38.
Thank you for your comments. That's all who have signed up to speak. Do I hear a motion? Representative Silt, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that this committee report House Bill 38 favorably to the PCS, unfavorable to the original, and refer the bill to rules.
That's the motion before us. Any discussion before we vote? Representative Harrison, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Pirtle, for your presentation on the bill. But I share the concerns that Mr. Swallow articulated, and it seems to me the comments that this hasn't been proven to have stopped anything. Sometimes you don't know when you stop something. It's just that you don't have the mass shooting. So I don't know what harm this is causing. It doesn't seem very intrusive, and it seems like it's been working for decades. So I respectfully oppose the bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Any other comments before we vote? Representative Jones, you're recognized.
Well, you know, I kind of I'm like pricey. I'm a gun owner, okay? I like shooting. I had a good friend who was a marksman. He taught me to shoot pretty well when I was in school, so I'm not anti-gun at all. But what I'm worried about, there's an attitude, there's a drift that somebody's trying to take guns or limit guns. We're the most gun-gifted society in the world, I think. Nobody's going to take our guns. Nobody's going to step on anyone's rights. I don't believe. And so I wonder, where is this coming from? I mean, that's why I always ask that about bills. Where is it coming from? If someone get abused and someone ran and got your credit card account, saying, were you buying too many guns? Because I'd be interested in knowing. My problem is there's a sacrosanct feeling that some gun owners have. I don't. They think if you dare even move toward us, we're going to move against you and get back off us. Don't look at us, don't touch us, don't do anything to us. Most of the gun owners I know, in fact, all I know are law-abiding. And so, I don't know, just something about this that I don't see the problem that we're trying to eliminate. I'm a gun owner. Yeah, if I found somebody trying to step on gun rights, I'll be right there with you on the front line. But this doesn't make sense to me. Where's the problem? That's what I asked. I'm done.
Thank you for those comments. Are there any other comments or questions by the committee before we vote on the motion? Representative Art, you're recognized.
I'd like to just speak to my colleague here. I think that's the point. There is a constitutionally recognized right to own guns. And I too am a gun owner, and many feel that is being pushed and rolled up and back. And this is another step by which you can obtain a registration, all for the purposes of abridging the right that's enumerated in our Constitution. And it's the leading steps, admittedly, to control that freedom. And that's why I'm going to vote in support of this.
Thank you for those comments. Representative Sheetsilt, did you have a comment?
Just a comment.
You're recognized for a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to push back really quickly on this idea that, I'm a gun owner. I think most gun owners, as you say, are law-abiding citizens. They also just want to be left alone. And I take issue with the comment that just because you are a law-abiding citizen, you will be left alone by the government. And I think the last 20 years of experience has taught us that's not always true. And so I think this is a measure to protect people who are trying to exercise their constitutional right, their right to be left alone, for exercising their constitutional right as well. So I just want to put that out there for the committee's consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Last call for any questions or comments by the committee before we vote on the motion that's before us. Not a motion yet, excuse me. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Representative Potts, you are recognized for a motion. I'm sorry?
I believe there's a motion already.
It's already been done?
Made, yes, sir.
I'm having a hard time getting all this stuff straight today, but thank you on that. All right, any discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Ayes have it, and the PCS will receive a favorable report. Thank you. The three bills that we have left, it was requested that they be heard in the second hour. It is in the second hour, so I'll ask As far as House Bill 424, which has a PCS, is staff here to be able to hear that bill? Okay. As far as House Bill 484.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Right now, you're watching NC House leaders in the Judiciary subcommittee that is meeting right now. They're talking about several bills right now. They were talking about House Bill 38 just moments ago. They voted on that one. Again, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Let's listen back into this meeting.
Gaming law / allow certain social games. The PCS is properly before the committee. It does have a serial referral to rules. Representative Willis, you are recognized to present your bill, and I do note that there is one person that signed up to speak against it. The floor is yours, sir. Welcome to Judiciary 1.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for welcoming us back to discuss Dean's Law. We have brought this back to the committee after passing successfully last meeting, if you will remember. The couple of tweaks that were made through this PCS were to kind of tighten up the restrictions on this based on some feedback from some of the members here. We did see in the first section where the HOA referenced the clubhouse or other structure. Other structure was removed. We also added in a section under line 5 or item 5 at the bottom. Games can be played no more than once in any 7-day period in any private residence home or community clubhouse, further restricting the ability of these to be abused in any way, shape, or form. The section 2 at the bottom was also something that was added in. We were requested by the folks that represent the charitable organizations. Right now, they are allowed to have 24 games during a calendar year. These are social games for charities, fundraisers, other things. They're restricted to doing 2 a month at this point. What they've asked for was a release on the restriction per month because they get the biggest draw for those.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We want to shift back over here to Charlotte area where we are continuing to follow a story in Monroe, Union County, where there was a gas leak that prompted an evacuation at a Tyson Foods facility there in Monroe on South Seacrest Avenue. We want to send it out to Walker Lawson. Walker is there by that facility. So Walker, tell me what's going on right now. What have you learned?
Yeah, well, we just spoke to the PIO here for the town of Monroe that basically said that law enforcement has gotten this under control, so this situation is fully controlled. Now, we do know this was an ammonia leak that happened earlier this afternoon. They said that all of the employees here at the Tyson facility were able to get out in a quick and timely manner, so thankfully there were no injuries here, and so for the most part, we have seen things calm down here. Law enforcement has also shifted away from this scene. So thankfully, good news here that they were able to get people out in a quick manner and to get this under control at a pretty quick, rapid speed.
Walker Lawson there live at the Tyson Foods facility there where there was a gas leak. Good news, that gas leak is under control. No one's hurt, as Walker just reported. Walker, thank you for your time. We'll check back in with you a little later.
Thank you.
All right, that was Walker Lawson there on the scene there. Again, the developing story. We brought you that news right here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, and that's why you need to leave your TV on, because as soon as breaking news, developing news happens, we bring it to you in real time. All right, so let's shift gears for a second. So we had some. It was exciting. It was exciting. Exciting event. Carlene and Jane were pacing. Y'all were pacing. Y'all were nervous. You're nervous. We're talking about the Blue Origin flight that happened yesterday. A lot of eyes, a lot of memes, a lot of questions on social media. So let me set the scene for you in case you were you missed out on this. So Blue Origin, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos' space tourism company, completed its latest space flight yesterday with 6-member all-female crew. That included pop singer Katy Perry, CBS Morning host Gayle King, Lauren Sanchez, and a few other women, Aisha Bowe, Amanda Nguyen, and Carrie Ann Flynn. I just want to make sure I get all the names in. But those were the women on that flight. They made it back safely. But as I mentioned, there were some questions. And so I had to enlist the help of Megan Bragg, Verified reporter, traffic anchor, Megan Bragg. Okay, so we had this flight yesterday. Carlene and Jane were nervous. A lot of folks. It was a cool thing. It was really cool. But one thing that stuck out to me, and we talked about it in our morning meeting, as soon as they got off those post-flight interviews, the reporter there said, "How does it feel to be an astronaut?" And that raised a lot of questions online.
Right.
Yeah.
And even Yao Ping's like, I don't know if we would go that far. And she kind of had a point, because there are 3 people, or I should say 3 agencies, that designate who can be an astronaut, or a definition of the astronaut, and that's NASA, the FAA, and the military. So these 3 can say, yes, you're an astronaut, no, you're not an astronaut. So, but there's a lot of they actually hold different definitions. So let's look at NASA's and the military's definition first. So basically, they're launched as crew members aboard a NASA spacecraft. Now, remember, this is not a NASA spacecraft. This was a private company, Amazon, So, and it's bound for orbit and beyond, and selected to join NASA Corps of astronauts who make star sailing their profession. I love how they say star sailing. So it has to be like a professional who is in NASA and selected as an astronaut itself. So that's what NASA and the military's definition is. Now, in 2006, the FAA did, when commercial space travel started, they did make a criteria of who can be given their astronaut wings, they say. And then in 2021, when it became more and more popular, because remember, you have the Virgin spacecrafts too going up. That kind of like started everything. They started honing down on what makes criteria. So there's a whole list of things, but I'm just going to go through the most important ones. So they need to meet specific training. On a flight, they need to be at least 50 miles above the Earth's surface. Now, granted, Blue Origin did go 66.5 miles above the surface.
So they can check something
off.
Okay.
So they can check something off, but you need all of these to be an astronaut. You have to demonstrate activities essential to public safety or human space flight safety. So they have to be either on a mission, or they have to be fixing something, or they have to be in the first ever spacecraft of something, So, but none of them really meet this criteria, except for the 66.5 miles above the surface of the Earth. So it's really up to, the FAA, NASA, and the military to either deem them an astronaut or not. Now, there's like an honorary astronaut. If they'll be given that, it's maybe, but it doesn't seem like it will be given to them.
Has anybody, and I don't want to throw you off with this question.
And so when I was looking into this, I think Virgin Atlantic, they were given astronaut status because they helped create commercial spacecraft. So that would fall under like space flight safety. But because there's so many people going to space now, the FAA is like, we're not. This is people who go to space, and they'll be put on a different list of like people who went to space, but they won't be on the astronaut list. So,
and look, this was a real question in the morning meeting.
Oh, absolutely.
If we were able to go, because it is becoming more prevalent. Granted, there are people with certain access to things.
Yes,
are able
exactly.
To go,
I mean, it's like millionaires can go to space now, which is really cool. Good for them. I mean, this was the first female crew in like 60 years, which is also very exciting. But yeah, I mean, they and also too, this spacecraft was. They didn't fly it, right? It was just they were controlling from the ground, and so they just went up and kind of, woo! Like it wasn't like anything. Weren't like, contributing anything crazy to like helping another spacecraft up there or saving anyone or you know what I mean. But I mean, it's fun. It's cool.
It is cool, and I'm looking at the video. We're playing the video right now, and it's. A lot of people got a kick out of it. I did too. Gail King's face. Before she rang the bell. I mean, you see it right here. She's nervous. She's nervous.
I mean, listen. I would be so nervous. I would be so nervous. And everyone's starting on them for like kissing the ground when they come back. But I get it. I get it. And
what would you do? The first thing you got if it was you?
I don't know if I'd kiss the ground. I'd just be like, And I mean, maybe I would. Who knows? I don't know. I'd just be really excited to be back on Earth. Something I never really want to do is go to space. I just don't really need to go to space. But no, I think it's really cool. It's a great experience, and it was fun to watch. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it did a lot. I saw a lot of memes, a lot of videos.
Yeah, there's a lot. Of course, there is. This day and age of social media. Everyone's going to do something, right? Yeah. So.
But I'm sure that was a question. That's a question that a lot of folks had, and I'm glad you were able to break that down for us. Where can we check out your story tonight?
5:45. It will air WCNC, and then of course we'll have it on our WCNC app and online. WCNC.com and streaming. WCNC Plus. What else do I need to plug?
I was like, I didn't want to cut her off because she kept going. I was like, okay.
Yeah. So check that out.
Megan Bragg, you're the best. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah,
Thanks,
it was.
Nick.
Look, man, Carlene is probably still nervous over here.
I've calmed down, and I've thought long and hard about what I'd do if I got off the capsule after that. And honest to God, I'd probably crack a beer. I'm not gonna lie. Sorry, Mom. I would 100% do that.
I'm not mad at you for that one because look, it is one of those sort of moments where you're like you just don't know. But I'm glad it was safe. It was a good time. It provided a lot of great content on social media, and I'm glad we were able to break that down for folks. So that was a legitimate question. All right. Okay. So let's go back to Raleigh. We're going back to Raleigh. Okay, we're going back to Raleigh. Still the House Committee, right?
Yes, Judiciary.
Okay. Yep. All right. They're meeting. We want to take you there live. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Let's listen.
Thank you. I've been here before, and it's always been a pleasure to be here. As you can see, I'm not Representative Sauls. He's a lot older than me, has gray hair and getting bald, but he's had some difficulties. So let's don't get carried away, Mr. Chair. If it's up there, I'll take any color, I can tell you. Many of us in our district have come across situations when we've had people in assisted living and we had to move them to nursing home because their incomes exceeded the limits that we had, which moves them to a higher level of expenditure. This bill just says that they can be 180% of poverty level or 200% in a memory care and not have to move to a higher level of care. This should at least be a cost neutral bill, if not a profitable bill. So I ask for your support on that, and I thank you for your time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that presentation. Are there any questions or comments by any member of the committee? Representative Harrison, you're recognized. Do you have a series of questions?
Maybe, but it's
well, you're recognized for a series of questions. And Representative Potts, you're recognized to answer the series of questions.
So, Representative Potts, I realize that you're a stand-in, but from what I understand, I think it's great to provide these extra personal care services, which is what the bill does. For those who are in a adult home or who are in a care home or some kind of facility, but that same amplification of services or expansion, does that include those who are treated in their own home, who aren't in a group home?
Representative Potts, you're recognized to answer a series of questions.
Representative Crawford and I discussed this when I presented in health. No, it doesn't, but it's a long, entangled process because of getting equality for buildings and all this stuff. But I agreed to work with her on it, as making it a part of that. But I don't want to hold up this bill, which will affect others positively.
Just a quick follow-up. Thank you, and I appreciate that because I think that actually fundamentally this conflicts with federal law, and so to the extent that
you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Right now, you're watching NT House Leaders as they discuss several bills on the docket this afternoon. On the bottom right corner, we are awaiting a White House briefing that's set to start in a few moments. We're keeping an eye on that, so we're going to leave that shot up. So once it starts, we want to take you there live. Let's get back to the meeting right now with NT House Leaders.
I move that we report House Bill 485 favorably with a referral to rules.
That is a motion before us. Any discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Receive a favorable report. Thank you, Representative Potts. The last bill we'll hear is House Bill 512, Emergency Care /Animals/Veteran Practice. Representative Gillespie will be presenting the bill. It was heard previously in the Health Committee and received a favorable report. And it does have a referral to rules. Representative Gillespie, welcome. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, good afternoon, committee members. House Bill 512 will do one thing. It'll provide an exemption for the practice of veterinary care for emergency personnel who render emergency medical service to an injured canine or search and rescue animal. This bill was passed through the House 112-0 in 2021. I ask for your support and stand for any questions.
Thank you for that presentation. Are there any questions or comments by any member of the committee? Representative Potts, you recognize.
Motion when you say it's appropriate, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. If you hold that thought. Any other questions or comments by any other member? Seeing none and no one signed up to speak on the bill, Representative Potts, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move we give a favorable report to House Bill 512 with referral to rules. And I honestly can't believe that we have to hear a bill like this, that someone would charge an EMS worker for providing service to an injured dog. But I guess in our society, anything's possible.
Thank you for that motion and comments. Any other questions or comments before we vote? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
No.
Representative Jones, did you have a question or comment?
I'm just saying good to have Representative Gillespie here.
I'm sorry.
I was just recognizing Representative Gillespie.
Okay.
It's good to have him. Yeah.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All please say no. All opposed, please say no. Hearing none, the bill will receive a favorable report. I want to thank all the members for being here today, as well as staff. We have knocked out 13 bills today. Thank you so much. Nothing before the committee to do. We are adjourned.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Right there is a live look at a North Carolina House committee leaders as they just wrapped up that meeting. Again, we're still waiting for a White House briefing that's set to start in just minutes, so we'll bring you there live as soon as we get it. But first, we want to remind you about this. Our NFL draft special. I wish you kind of had the music behind this. It would be pretty cool. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. I felt like Chris Berman for a second, but we the NFL draft special with Locked On Thursday, April 24th, 7 p.m. The draft is Thursday, the first round, April 24th. You don't want to miss this. This is on WCNC Plus. You see it right there. Sports director Nick Carboni, sports anchor and reporter Danielle Stein. They will have expert analysis. They will have exclusive interviews, coaches, GM, you name it. And look, we're breaking down who the Panthers are going to select because Panthers are at 8. I don't know who they're going to pick. I see Jalen Walker from Georgia. I see a receiver maybe. I don't know. So this is why, if I don't know, and I'm a Panthers diehard, you at home don't know. And that's why you need to watch the special, NFL Draft Special with Locked On, Thursday, April 24th, 7 p.m. It'll get you filled in as the draft kicks off that evening. So, yeah, don't miss that at all. I'm excited about the draft. It's one of my favorite sporting events, even though they don't really play sports. It's exciting. A new beginning. There you go. And the WNBA draft was last night, so that was pretty cool to see. All right, so another pretty cool thing, the weather, because it has been beautiful here lately in the Charlotte area from this weekend with cooler temperatures. Now we're heating up. So Chris Mulcahy was here in studio earlier breaking down our 7-day forecast and also giving us a weather IQ. Let's listen in.
The crazy thing about today is we have a cold front that's moving through, and that cold front has now increased the cloud cover, but it's also going to increase the winds. So we actually are going to have a substantially breezier forecast. Actually, no, I can't help myself. I'm going to stall here.
Please.
Jane, talk, because I actually want to bring up a graphic because I want to try to raise our weather IQ.
I love it.
Yeah, one thing about winds, and this is called the Beaufort wind scale. So oftentimes I'm going to say things like, here, today there's a chance for wind gusts up to 35 to 40 miles per hour. But what exactly does that mean? Let's bring up weather one. You don't need to see me.
And that's Chris's weather. We'll get back to that in a second, but we want to take you here at the White House for a White House briefing that's underway right now. That's Caroline Leavitt, White House Secretary, speaking. Let's listen in.
Pledge to produce $50 billion worth of AI infrastructure in our country over the next 4 years. With their manufacturing partners, they have commissioned more than 1 million square feet of manufacturing space to build and test NVIDIA Blackwell chips in the great state of Arizona and AI supercomputers in the great state of Texas. NVIDIA's founder and CEO Jensen Huang touted how the engines of the world's AI infrastructure are being built in the United States for the first time. This is the Trump effect. This follows trillions in other U.S. investments announced already, including $500 billion from Apple in U.S.-based manufacturing and training, $100 billion from TSMC and U.S.-based chips manufacturing, and the $500 billion private investment led by OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank in artificial intelligence infrastructure. Under President Trump, we're going to produce the cars, the ships, the chips, the airplanes, minerals, and medicines that we need right here in America at the hands of American workers. On the border, President Trump continues to break records and protect our homeland. According to CBP, Border Patrol apprehensions along the southwest border for the entire month of March 2025 were lower than the first 2 days of March 2024 under Joe Biden. Incredible law enforcement officers are arresting violent illegal aliens from American communities every day. Here are a few examples from the latest ICE report, which I received this morning. ICE Los Angeles arrested a 54-year-old citizen of Mexico convicted of rape by threat, sodomy with a person under 14 years, and kidnapping in San Jose, California. ICE Houston has arrested a 23-year-old citizen of Mexico convicted of predatory criminal sexual assault of a child in Cook County, Illinois. ICE Houston arrested a 64-year-old citizen of Honduras convicted of murder in Los Angeles County, California. ICE Chicago arrested a 49-year-old citizen of Guatemala convicted of assault and arson in Prince Williams, Virginia, not far from here. ICE Denver arrested a 36-year-old citizen of Mexico who is registered as a sex offender and has been convicted of sexual assault of a child in Lake County, Colorado. ICE Baltimore arrested a 50-year-old citizen of China convicted of sex trafficking in Bel Air, Maryland. And ICE Boston arrested a 46-year-old citizen of Jamaica convicted of 3 counts of rape of a child and 2 counts of indecent assault and battery of a child under 14 in Boston, Massachusetts. President Trump and our administration will not rest until every single violent illegal alien is removed from our country. The safety of the American people is too important to settle for anything less. On that note, the Democrat and media outrage over the deportation of Abrego Garcia, an MS-13 El Salvadorian illegal alien criminal who is hiding in Maryland, has been nothing short of despicable. Based on the sensationalism of many of the people in this room, you would think we deported a candidate for Father of the Year. That's because, unfortunately, many in this country care more about this quote-unquote Maryland father, a legal alien MS-13 gang member, than a Maryland mother and an American citizen who was brutally murdered at the hands of a different illegal alien. Of course, I am referring to Rachel Morin. And if you didn't see yesterday, a Maryland jury found illegal alien Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez guilty of murdering Rachel Morin in August of 2023. She was a 37-year-old mother of 5 who was jogging in an otherwise safe community northeast of Baltimore when this monster ambushed, strangled, and beat her to death before stuffing her brutalized body in a tunnel drain. The Morin family finally got justice yesterday, but they will never get Rachel back. Our hearts go out to Rachel's family, her 5 children, and her mother, Patty, who has suffered the unimaginable loss of her daughter. In case you missed it last week, President Trump signed a national security presidential memorandum directing federal agencies administering federal land on the border to make land available to the Defense Department in a new national defense area. This followed the president's day one executive order committing his administration to marshal all available resources and authorities to stop the unprecedented flood of illegal aliens into our country and to obtain complete operational control of the borders of the United States of America. Once again, the president is fulfilling another key promise. This new national defense area spans more than 170 miles across our border in New Mexico, but in the coming weeks, this administration will add more than 90 miles in the state of Texas. This national defense area will enhance our ability to detect, interdict, and prosecute the illegal aliens, criminal gangs, and terrorists who were able to invade our country without consequence for the past 4 years under the Biden administration. It will also bolster our defenses against fentanyl and other dangerous narcotics that have been poisoning our communities. With all of this work being done to make America great again, we continue to see a positive response from the American public. A brand new poll published from the Daily Mail and JL Partners this morning found that President Trump's approval rating is at an all-time high. That's because the president is working tirelessly to keep his promises to the American people, as I just saw him doing today in the Oval Office. We have a reporter in our new media seat today, Matthew Foldy. I like your boots, Matt, who is the editor-in-chief of the Washington Reporter. Washington Reporter is a new, fast-growing outlet that breaks stories about legislation and interviews leaders in Congress and across the administration. The publication's readership includes the highest levels of business and government. And with that, please kick us off, Matt.
And we've interviewed you as well. So Caroline, thanks so much for having me here on behalf of our readership and the millions of Americans who I think appreciate what you're doing with the new media seat here and making this a more accessible briefing room. I'm curious with Harvard, we saw the Trump administration today announce it's cutting around $2 billion, or freezing $2 billion in funds to Harvard because the campus has serious problems with violence and with anti-Semitism. We saw President Obama, former President Obama, side with Harvard, which rejected the Trump administration's demands. I'm curious, where does the administration see this going with Harvard and with other colleges and universities in America that are refusing to reform in wake of the sort of craziness that we've seen take over some of them?
Thank you, Matt, for being here, and thanks for the question. When it comes to Harvard, the president's position on this is grounded in common sense, in the basic principle that Jewish American students, or students of any faith, should not be illegally harassed and targeted on our nation's college campuses. And we unfortunately saw that illegal discrimination take place on the campus of Harvard. There are countless examples to prove it, particularly with the stunning confession by then Harvard President Claudine Gay, who said that bullying and harassment depended on the context. The president at that time made it clear to the American public he was not going to tolerate illegal harassment and anti-Semitism taking place in violations of federal law. So the president made it clear to Harvard.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. Right there, you are listening in and watching in on a White House briefing there in Washington, D.C. That's Caroline Levitt. We'll get back to that in just a moment, but we wanted to come back in and bring you closer to home. So today is a big day, not only in Major League Baseball, but also just across the country and even globally, because today is Jackie Robinson Day. So Major League Baseball, its clubs and other partners, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation are once again working together to honor the legacy of Dodgers icon, civil rights activist Jackie Robinson. You'll see players today and coaches today and fans wearing the number 42, donning the Brooklyn Dodgers hat that he is famous for. And I wanted to bring in, there he is, Morris Madden. He is the founder of Carolina Metro Reds. And Morris, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. I think it's your first time on the show.
Yes, it is. I appreciate it, Nick. Thank you so much.
Of course. Okay, so before we get into what Nahu Foundation is doing, what Carolina's Metro Reds are doing this week, what does this day, and I hate to be cliche, but what does this day mean for you, and especially as a former Dodger?
Right. I was drafted by the Dodgers, and upon getting drafted by the Dodgers, one of the scouts that was drafting me stated that, you do know that we signed Jackie Robinson to play with the Dodgers. He was the first African American player, and he made that statement like I didn't know it, but I already knew that. But yeah, he made sure that I knew that, and in doing so, when I did play with the Dodgers, I did have an opportunity to meet with some of the guys that, like a Roy Campanella was there, and there were some other guys like Dusty Baker was there, and some other people that had a real big influence on my life, not only because they were playing baseball, but the fact that they were black and playing baseball with the Dodgers.
Do you feel a responsibility to pass down the legacy of Jackie Robinson, not only as a baseball player, as the man, to the kids, the many kids that you go out there and coach on the day in, day out?
Very much so, because of the fact that even back when I played in Major League Baseball, the percentage of African American players playing in Major League was like 19 to 20%. It has dwindled down to like 6 or 7% right now, and even less in college at 3%. So my goal is to get that interest back up to kids that have the ability to play, and some that don't have the ability to play but just love the game, and want to keep all of the kids intrigued and wanting to come out here and play baseball.
Morris, I'm curious, when kids now hear the name Jackie Robinson, like it's different for me when I hear the name, and it's different for you when you hear the name Jackie Robinson. But for kids now, when they hear that name Jackie Robinson, what do they tell you? How do they sort of break down or see his legacy?
They don't know much about it. We have to school them on that, Nick. In fact, we have some opportunity like today to tell them about what he had to go through in order to just play the game. And not only he was probably not the best Negro League player, but he was the one that was able to face the adversity that was going to be put before him. And that was one of the major reasons that he was chosen to take on that role. There were some other players that were playing in the Negro Leagues at that time that were actually better baseball players than him, but we don't know if they would have been able to sustain or take up the amount of adversity he had to go through. And you know, he was just so diverse in sport. You know, he was a track star, he was a football player, he was in the Army, and all of the things that he accomplished just to make sure they got the right choice. And I think they did by choosing him to take on that role.
Man, Morris, I got a chance to, as you know, come down there and speak with you and your wife, Sandra, meet some of the players and the families. Man, I had a great time. Y'all do incredible work, especially this week. Can you talk about the Not Whole Foundation West Side Story? You talking about some great baseball that's happening, especially today.
Yeah, we just finished up a game at 10 o'clock. Then we had our life skills sessions, where we include in all of anything that we do here at the Not Whole Foundation. But right now, what's going on down here is schools that are being targeted that we like to make sure that we give them an opportunity is like West Charlotte, West Mac, Philip O'Berry, Harding, Chambers. Jackson Day is right down the street from us. All the schools that Garinger, that probably would not have an opportunity to play in a spring break tournament. We allow them to have that opportunity. We try to give them the best facilities that we can give them and the best opportunities that they can have, and have a sense of pride in even winning it. We are going to give them rings for participating. And the whole thing is just creating the interest to make sure the kids stay engaged in playing baseball and learn about baseball, and also learn what it takes to play the game and play at the next level if there's an opportunity given to them for that. I spoke with a bunch of them this morning. I said, you know, that's the only thing that I know that you can do 3 out of 10 times right and make $1 million. So I don't know anything else that you can do that with.
I remember you said that during our interview a couple of months ago. My last question before I let you go. I asked you this before, but I want to continue to drive this home. How can folks get involved? How can folks help?
Just come out to Stick Williams Dream Field at 7531 Tuckasegee Road. We have plenty of opportunity for volunteer work. The biggest thing for us is the kids. We just want to make sure the kids are here and being encouraged and playing in a safe environment. Want the community to get involved. If you are able to do so, we do have a donation page that you can help with making sure that the kids have the resources to do some of the things that we're doing. Oh, and that is the Not Whole Foundation of the Carolinas. I'm sorry.
Morris Madden, founder of Carolinas Metro Reds. Always a pleasure talking to you, Morris. I always learn, walk away with something new every time I talk to you. So thank you for stopping by Live Impact News and taking time to do this.
Yes, sir, Nick. Thank you all so much.
Of course. Again, that is Morris Madden, folks. Check out what they're doing there. Carolinas Metro Reds, Not Whole Foundation, and doing incredible work in West Charlotte. All right, we want to shift back now to that White House briefing that's happening live at the White House in Washington, D.C. Right there on your screen is Caroline Leavitt, press secretary for the White House. Let's listen in.
Does the president support raising the corporate tax rate to pay for all these other tax cuts he wants to see move through Congress?
Look, I've seen this idea proposed. I've heard this idea discussed, but I don't believe the president has made a determination on whether he supports it or not.
And then secondly, do you have any information on the status of Eden Alexander? Hamas says they lost contact with the unit guarding him following an Israeli airstrike earlier today.
I don't have updates. I have not seen that report, but I can certainly check in with our National Security Council. I have spoken to the president about Eden Alexander, and he's made it very clear to our national security team that finding him is a priority, but unfortunately I don't have any updates there. But it's a very important matter, and certainly we can check in. Sure.
Hi. How concerned is the president that a federal judge could hold a Trump administration official in contempt of court for defying deportation orders?
We are complying with all court orders. So I see what you're trying to do there with that question, but we're very confident that every action taken by this administration is within the confines of the law, and we continue to comply with the court's orders. And you have seen that, and the president made that clear yesterday in the Oval Office with President Bukele. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. Could you, just going back to El Salvador, could you just explain to us a little bit more about the legal basis on which you may be able to send U.S. citizens to prison there? I know you said that President Trump is looking at it, but can you explain to us a little bit more about how that might be possible?
We're looking at it, and when I have more for you to share, I certainly will. Sure.
Still going off the El Salvador questions, yesterday in the Oval Office, administration officials made it very clear that El Salvador is responsible for Mr. Abrego Garcia, yet El Salvador's president said we're not going to do anything with him. So my question is, who is responsible for this man and where he's going to end up?
Well, no. First of all, President Bukele said that he is not going to smuggle a foreign terrorist back into the United States of America, as many in this room in the Democrat Party seemingly want him to do. Abrego Garcia was a foreign terrorist. He is an MS-13 gang member. He was engaged in human trafficking. He illegally came into our country. And so deporting him back to El Salvador was always going to be the end result. There is never going to be a world in which this is an individual who's going to live a peaceful life in Maryland, because he is a foreign terrorist and a MS-13 gang member. Not only have we confirmed that, President Bukele yesterday in the Oval Office confirmed that as well. So he went back to his home country, where he will face consequences for his gang affiliation and his engagement in human trafficking. I'm not sure what is so difficult about this for everyone in the media to understand, and it's appalling, truly appalling, that there has been so much time covering this alleged human trafficker and this gang member, MS-13 gang member. It's truly striking to me. Karen.
Thanks, Caroline. The president was posting on Truth Social today about helping American farmers. And last week in his cabinet meeting, he was talking about a plan to work with farmers to retain workers who are in the U.S. illegally, provided that they leave and then come back through what he said would be a legal process. Can you give details on what that would look like? How many workers he's talking about? How long a plan like that would take to implement? And the timeline for more details on getting this actually to implementation?
I can check in with our immigration and our policy team and get you some more details on that, Karen.
And is this something he wants to roll out soon? I mean, he was talking back and forth with Secretary Rollins.
Right.
This is kind of imminent that he wants to do this.
Yeah, look, the president is in constant communication with all of his cabinet secretaries, particularly Secretary Rollins, who has the backs of American farmers and ranchers. It's something that he spoke about with her in the front of all the cameras in the cabinet room, but I'll check in with not only our immigration team, but also with USDA, and we'll get you an answer. Jonathan.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi, it's great to see you in here.
You too. The president has long said that it would be an abuse of power for a president to direct prosecutors to investigate him. Last week, President Trump explicitly directed the Justice Department to scrutinize Chris Krebs to see if it can find any evidence of criminal wrongdoing. How is that not an abuse of power to direct the Justice Department to look into an individual, a named individual?
Look, the president signed that executive order. It's the position of the president in this White House that it's well within his authority to do it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have signed it. And he signed it, and that's his policy. Jeff, how you doing?
Fine, thanks, Caroline. A follow-up on Harvard. The president floated on Truth Social, I believe, the possibility of removing tax-exempt status. How serious is that threat, and are there other universities he's considering? And then a follow-up question on foreign policy. Can you give us an update on what the president hopes to come from the next round of talks with Iran?
Sure. First, when it comes to Harvard, as I said, the president has been quite clear. They must follow federal law. He also wants to see Harvard apologize, and Harvard should apologize for the egregious anti-Semitism that took place on their college campus against Jewish American students. There were professors who said that he had engaged in discriminatory behavior against Jewish students. Of course, you had the former president of the university saying bullying and harassment depends on the context. You also had an encampment on Harvard Yard that we all saw play out before the cameras. The university failed to impose formal discipline on any students for this anti-Semitic conduct violations, including the occupation of a campus building and the disruption of classes with bullhorns. The president believes Harvard should apologize to its Jewish American students for allowing such egregious behavior. As for the tax-exempt status, I would defer you to the IRS for any updates. I do want to answer your question on Iran, of course. The maximum pressure campaign on Iran continues, but as you know, the president has made it clear he wants to see dialogue and discussion with Iran while making his directive about Iran never being able to obtain a nuclear weapon quite clear. And the president spoke to the Sultan of Oman today, who helped facilitate these talks. I have a readout for all of you. He held a call with the Sultan of Oman today, and he thanked him for hosting the first direct meeting between the United States and Iran and emphasized the need for Iran to end its nuclear program through negotiations. The two leaders also discussed the United States' ongoing operations against the Houthis and emphasized that the Houthis will pay a severe price until they end their attacks on maritime traffic in the Red Sea. As you know, an additional negotiation between Steve Witkoff and Iran's representative has been scheduled for Saturday. And since these are ongoing negotiations, I have nothing more to add on that.
Thanks about Iran.
Sure.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. When you said that the president said that Iran will never have nuclear weapon, is the focus on dismantling the entire nuclear program, or just restricting enriched uranium or the missile program?
The president does not want to see Iran have a nuclear program. He does not want Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. He's been very clear about this. Shelby.
Thanks, Caroline.
Shelby, you have a seat today.
I know. Stole it.
Glad to see it.
Two quick ones on TikTok. First, is the president expecting to extend the TikTok ban that's now June 19th if China doesn't come to the table in time?
Well, June 19th is a long ways away, obviously. I think it's 2 months away. 2 months is a long time in the Trump administration, as you have all seen. We work at Trump speed around here. We get a lot done, so definitely don't want to get ahead. The vice president continues to lead these negotiations and talks. The president's involved, and they're ongoing.
And then the president previously said he'd consider reducing tariffs on China in order to get a TikTok deal done. Is that option still on the table?
Look, the president has made his position on China quite clear, although I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money. So the president, again, has made it quite clear that he's open to a deal with China, but China needs to make a deal with the United States of America. Sure.
On tariffs, yesterday in the Oval Office...
Which outlet are you with?
The Canadian Public Broadcaster.
Oh, nice to see you.
Thank you. Yesterday in the Oval Office, President Trump suggested that there could be some help for automakers. I'm wondering what that looks like. Is it tariff relief on the 25% tariffs that are in place right now, or the new tariffs that are coming up in May on auto parts? And a second on Canada, if I may. President Trump's tone when it comes to Canada-U.S. relations, Canadians have noticed it's shifted a bit in the past few weeks. Ever since the election campaign started, he stopped talking about Canada becoming the 51st state, at least publicly. I'm wondering if that's on purpose and why.
I would reject the president's position on Canada has shifted. Perhaps he just hasn't been asked about Canada by questions from this group in the Oval Office, but they see him almost every day. But the president still maintains his position on Canada. The United States has been subsidizing Canada's national defense, and he believes that Canadians would benefit greatly from becoming the 51st state of the United States of America. As for autos and auto parts, I don't have anything to read out for you there, but I think the point the president was making is flexibility, and he has flexibility when it comes to negotiations and talks, but ultimately his goal in his fair trade deals that he is pursuing with many countries around the world is to put the American worker first. And we had automakers and auto workers here at the White House on Liberation Day who believe in this president and his negotiating ability to put them first and to bring those jobs back to the United States of America. And the president's been very clear about that in his conversations with the automakers as well. Deanna, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. One on Ukraine and then one on China. On Ukraine, this past weekend, Zelensky offered an invitation to President Trump, extending an offer for him to visit Ukraine. Just wondering if there's any update on that. Has Trump seen that offer and what he's thinking about?
I don't know. Actually, I haven't talked to the president about that, or if he saw Zelensky's offer. I'm sure he did. I haven't spoken to him about it. I can ask him what he thinks. I certainly don't have any plans to share on a potential trip to Ukraine, though.
And then on China, this last week, Chinese officials were posting videos on, social media sites depicting Trump, J.D. Vance, Elon Musk in AI-generated videos working in factories, putting together Nike shoes and iPhones and products like that. Does the White House, have they seen these videos? Do you guys have a response to that?
I have seen the videos. I'm not sure who made the videos or if we can verify the authenticity, but whoever made it clearly does not see the potential of the American worker, the American workforce. The president believes in the American people, and he knows that we have the best, not only consumer base in the world, but also the best workforce in the world, and that's why he's so focused on bringing investments home and shoring up our critical supply chains and bolstering our manufacturing here as well. Brett.
Thanks, Caroline. Would the president support a ban on members of Congress trading stocks?
I'm certain that's something the president would be interested in looking at, and I can ask him if he would support such a bill. Sure. Yes.
I have a question about the president's post from this morning on farmers. He asked farmers to be patient and just hold on. But a lot of farmers that I've talked to in the last week or so have said, they're in the middle of spring planting season, and that a trade war makes everything sort of up in the air. What would his message to them be? And also, is there anything specifically planned to provide relief like in President Trump's last term?
Yes, well, relief is being considered. The Secretary of Agriculture, I know, has spoken to the president about that, and again, it's being considered. And as for the president's message to the farmers, he put it out himself. He could speak for himself much better than I can speak for him, and so I would just direct you to the statement he had telling the farmers again and reiterating his support for them and that he has their backs, which he certainly does. Kelly, in the back.
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions. The first one, a Georgia man was just arrested over alleged threats to kill Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Reportedly, there is now increased security around the FBI Deputy Director. Can you talk about the level of threats against various administration officials? And then a second one on Biden.
I'm sorry to hear that. I had not seen that report. It's very unfortunately, and obviously the White House, the president, and the entire administration condemn any threats of violence against any administration officials or public officials on both sides sides of the aisle here in Washington, D.C. It shouldn't be tolerated, and we commend the local law enforcement agencies for arresting this individual.
Former President Biden, he's set to deliver his first major speech since leaving office tonight. He plans to talk about what I'm told will be Social Security under the current administration, closing of offices, longer wait times, harder for seniors and people with disabilities to access earned benefits, is what Democrats have been saying today. I wanted to get the president's response, or if he plans to respond to this, and comments on what Democrats are calling cuts to Social Security.
My first reaction when seeing former President Biden was speaking tonight was, I'm shocked that he is speaking at nighttime. I thought his bedtime was much earlier than his speech tonight. I understand the topic of his speech will be Social Security. Let me make it very clear ahead of former President Biden's remarks. President Trump, is absolutely certain about protecting Social Security benefits for law-abiding, tax-paying American citizens and seniors who have paid into this program. He will always protect that program. He campaigned on it, he protected it in his first term, and he's back again to continue protecting it. On the topic of Social Security, I have some news before I let you all go. Later this afternoon, the President will be signing a presidential memorandum aimed at stopping illegal aliens and other ineligible people from obtaining Social Security Act benefits. The memorandum will direct the administration to ensure ineligible aliens are not receiving funds from the Social Security Act programs. It will expand the Social Security Administration's fraud prosecutor program to at least 50 U.S. attorney offices and establishes a Medicare and Medicaid fraud prosecution program in 15 U.S. attorney offices. The memorandum will also require the Social Security Administration Inspector General to investigate earning reports for individuals aged 100 or older with mismatched Social Security records to combat identity theft. And the memorandum will direct the Social Security Administration to consider whether to reinstate the use of civil monetary penalties against individuals who engage in Social Security fraud, an effort that has been paused for several years. These taxpayer-funded benefits should be only for eligible taxpayers. And President Biden should think about what he did in his last term, which is allow tens of millions of illegal people into our country, many of whom were fraudulently receiving these benefits. So you'll hear from the President on that later, and we will see you later in the East Room. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Caroline.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. You're watching live as a White House briefing just wrapped up at the White House. You see the reporters there in the room. All right, so we want to come back home where there is a news conference underway with Congresswoman Alma Adams. Is happening right now. So just to kind of give you an idea of what's happening here. So Congresswoman Alma Adams, who you see here on the podium, is hosting an in-person Social Security press conference at the Charlotte Social Security field office in response to what she is calling, quote, the reckless attacks on Social Security. Let's take a listen in.
Keep your damn hands off of Social Security. Right now, at a time when people are struggling to put food on the table, the cost of living has never been higher. And more Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. People are working 2 and 3 jobs, trying to make the ends meet. Working hard is not enough if you don't make enough. So Republicans are working to gut Social Security operations, making it harder for every single American to access this essential life-saving service. So shame on you. Shame on you. Shame. Social Security, it was a promise made to the American people on August 14th, 1935. So what the hell happened to promises made, promises kept? In my district alone, 110,000 plus people access Social Security every single month. Well, that's 83,000 retirees, 5,000 widows, 7,400 children, 13,147 disabled workers, They rely on Social Security to get by. In fact, 50% of older Americans say that Social Security benefits make up at least half of their income. And 25% say that Social Security benefits account for at least 90% of their income. Now, some of the seniors in my district have contacted me and they've said this is their only income. You know, missing a single Social Security payment would be devastating for these households. But President Trump, Elon Musk, and his Muskins won't lose any sleep at night. They won't lose any sleep at night if it means that they can get their billionaire friends that $4.5 trillion in tax breaks. As if billionaires need another tax break. So if you pay even a single cent in income tax in 2024, you still would have paid more than Tesla did last year, despite them reporting $2.3 billion in annual income. Well, I call it Robin Hood in reverse. Stealing from the poor, giving to the rich. Plain and simple, Robin Hood in reverse. And they're stealing from the working and middle class people and giving it to the rich. And so we're already seeing how their greed is hurting the rest of us. And under the direction of Elon Musk's Doge, 7,000 Social Security Administration employees were fired. 7,000. That's 7,000 people who dedicated their careers to making sure that the most vulnerable Americans receive their benefits. Rather than thanking them for their service, Elon Musk showed them the door. And services have suffered since he made that reckless decision. Already we have reports of wait times skyrocketing for Social Security Association recipients trying to speak to somebody at the agency. They're not answering the phone. Their website has had numerous outages since these firings, blocking millions of Americans from accessing their accounts. And this is on top of shutting down dozens of Social Security offices across the country, including 4 here in North Carolina. And so while also implementing a vague anti-fraud check, a system with absolutely no clarity for what that involves. And so this is going to cause people to lose their benefits. So what are our Social Security recipients, our seniors and veterans and disabled people supposed to do now? Well, thanks to Elon Musk, they can't get anybody on the phone to discuss their benefits, and the website frequently crashes when they try to access their accounts. And I'm saying, let's crash the damn website. And if they try to go in person, there's a chance that their local field office is just closed anyway. And so they've left our seniors, our citizens who rely on Social Security with no options, no recourse, nothing but waiting to see if they actually end up getting the money that they spent their entire careers earning. And experts are saying there's a good chance that they might not at some point get their money during this administration. Well, former Commissioner of Social Security Martin O'Malley recently predicted that benefits could be interrupted for the first time in the Social Security Administration history as a result of those damn Doge cuts. And since its inception, 90 years ago, the Social Security Association has never missed a payment benefits at all. And this would be unprecedented and disastrous, and we're not going to let them get away with it. We are not letting them break the Social Security Administration and use that as an excuse to cut Social Security. And we're not going to let them hide behind chains of fraud to avoid paying our retired and disabled workers what they are owed. And we're not going to let them treat the 7 million Americans as a tax write-off for billionaires either. Because Republicans refer to Social Security as an entitlement. And you know what? For once they're right. You're damn right entitled to Social Security. You're entitled to the money that you paid in. You're entitled to the money that you've worked your entire life to receive. It's not their money, it's your money. And you are entitled to this critical program that has been promised to you for more than 90 years. So let me just say that again. You are entitled to Social Security. You've earned it. That's money you've already worked for. Thank you so much. I am so honored to introduce the Mecklenburg County Board Chair, Mark Jarrell, Jarrell for the people, to speak more about the impact that he's seeing from these drastic cuts to our Social Security. Mark?
Thank you, Congresswoman. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Congresswoman just had a mic drop moment, everybody. We got a Congresswoman that's not scared to speak up, not scared to speak out, and we know she'll cut up if she has to. That's right. I'm so honored to be here today. Thank you, Congresswoman. I appreciate this opportunity. Let me just take this opportunity to acknowledge the elected officials that are here today. We have my colleague from the Board of County Commissioners, Commissioner Susan Rodriguez-McDowell, District 6 representative. We also have Malcolm Graham, Charlotte City Council, District 2 in the House. I just want to thank them for being here and standing up. And today, I'm standing before you today to address, obviously, an urgent matter that threatens the very foundation of our social safety net, and that's Social Security. And you all know that in recent discussions, we've seen these proposals that would cut the vital program to fund tax breaks for the wealthiest Americans, including high-profile figures like Elon Musk and his Muskians, as Congresswoman says. They advocate for cryptocurrency, Dogecoin, and the trend is not just concerning, it's immoral.
Yes, it is.
Social Security is not just a government program. That's right. It's a promise that we've made to our seniors. Yes. We made that same promise to our disabled citizens, to those who rely on these benefits just to make ends meet.
Talk about it.
It's a lifeline for millions of people in North Carolina and in Mecklenburg County. Yes. It provides essential support for food, for housing, for health care. Yes. Cutting Social Security would not only devastate the lives of our seniors, but it would ripple through our communities, forcing hard choices for families and local businesses. Yes. Imagine this. Imagine a senior that is in our community who spent a lifetime working, a lifetime saving, contributing to society, now faced with the prospect of living in poverty, just because they want to cut Social Security. So imagine the impact on our local businesses that rely on the spending power of these same individuals. The consequences of these cuts are going to be felt by all of us across the state and in Mecklenburg County. It's going to strain our healthcare system, it's going to increase demand for local charities, and it's going to diminish the quality of life for our most vulnerable citizens. Y'all, we can't let this happen. We can't let this happen. The immorality of prioritizing tax breaks for the wealthy over the well-being of our citizens cannot happen. It's time for us to unite as a community. We've got to send a clear message to our elected officials, everybody in Washington, that Social Security cuts are unacceptable. So I'm urging everyone here, everyone within the sound of my voice, to take action. We need you to reach out to your representatives, attend town hall meetings, and let your voices be heard. We got to advocate for the protection of Social Security, not just for our seniors today, but for future generations who will depend on it. So let's encourage our neighbors to join the cause. We know we're stronger together. and our collective voices can make a difference. In Mecklenburg County and throughout North Carolina, we have the power to protect the values that we hold dear. So let's not stand idly by while the wealthy benefit at the expense of those who built this great state and this great nation. Together, we can ensure that Social Security remains intact, providing our support, the support our seniors deserve, and the dignity they've earned. Thank you. For the people. We've got some additional speakers. We have 5 of them. The first up will be Miss Patricia Battle. That's not really good, so I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll do the best. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss the significance of Social Security in my life. Yes. My name is Patricia Battle. I've lived and worked in Charlotte for the past 30 years. I have 3 amazing adult daughters and 3 wonderful grandchildren. I cannot afford for my Social Security to be reduced, late, or restricted in any way. That result will make my life unmanageable, difficult, and devastating. Back in 2021, my husband of 40 years was diagnosed with a very tough cancer. We had to make some decisions about finances. We understood that our pensions alone would not pay the bills. In addition, the unknowns of cancer treatment. Our decision was to apply for early retirement and draw on our Social Security. It was a stabilized, guaranteed income that we worked for and earned. Yes. That's right. My husband lived for 2 years, then God had another plan. And now, by the grace of God, I continue to draw my Social Security plus spousal benefit. I have worked for over 50 years, having money deducted every single paycheck. I earned my Social Security. And as a tax-paying citizen, I believe that my Social Security would be there for me because I paid into it. America made a promise to its workers that after a lifetime of hard work, they would have the security of a stable retirement. This was the moral promise from America. Right. Without Social Security, it would be quite frankly impossible to maintain a decent life. I pray that it is more than just saved, it must be protected. Yes. This is not a game or a scheme or a budget item. It is a lifeline. And if it is a lifeline for me and millions of other older adults here in Charlotte, in the state of North Carolina, and all across the country, it's so important. Thank you for letting me share my story.
That's right. Next, we're going to hear from Lowell Faison.
Hope you can all hear me. Am I speaking loud enough? Okay. Louder, okay. I thank the Congresswoman for having me. I just want to make this short. When I think of cuts in Social Security, I don't just think of money. I think of human life. There are thousands of people who will die without Social Security, without health care. We cannot let this happen. Number 47 needs a new address.
necessary.
My wife and I live off of Social Security.
By any means necessary.
If I didn't have Social Security, I wouldn't be here with you having this conversation. But we manage, okay? Any cuts would be devastating.
Yes.
My wife has end-stage renal failure. She has dialysis 3 times a week, okay? Aside from ancillary medical bills, if they were to decrease Social Security, it would be devastating. Social Security is the most successful government program in this nation. It has brought more people from poverty to the middle class than any other program in the history of this country. Join me in getting a new address for number 47. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. A new address, everybody. Next up will be Heather Holloway.
Is there a microphone or should I just yell?
Just yell out.
I can yell. All right. So my name is Heather Holloway. I am with the American Federation of Government Employees, Local 3509. We represent Social Security offices. We represent 76 offices and 2,300 employees, including this office. I've worked for Social Security for 15 years. And I'm going to tell you, I am very used to politicized attacks on the federal workforce. But this right now, what is happening now is the worst attacks in the nation's history. They have never worked so hard to make us look like the bad guys than they are right now. It is wrong. It is wrong. President Trump has been in office for 85 days. That's right, I know, it seems longer, doesn't it? It seems longer. During that 85 days, Social Security has fallen from a 20-year staffing low to a 50-year staffing low. All the while, we are serving the most amount of beneficiaries in the history of the American government. 69 million people receive benefits each month, and every single day, 10,000 more people apply for benefits. So that number is only going up, y'all. Staff depletions are already causing problems. We have longer wait times. Nobody can get through on the phone. We have slower claims processing. And let me tell y'all about the systems crashes. Doge and Elon Musk, in their infinite wisdom, went in and they cut half of the technology staff who handle our systems. Just last week, and I wasn't even in the office all week, I had to be off on Friday, I saw 5 systems crashes in our office that we had to wait through before we could provide service to you. Wow. Last week, a random message, because of what they tell us was a glitch, went out telling millions of beneficiaries that their benefits had been terminated. It wasn't true, but people called and came into the office. They were panicked, they were upset, and the agency didn't even tell us that it had happened, so we didn't know what was going on at all. We tried to comfort them as much as possible and tell them that their benefits would continue. Unfortunately, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to say that, because with all these crashes, with all these staff depletions, it is entirely likely that the entire system, our agency, will crash. We will not be able to provide service at all. Sorry about that. President Trump and Elon Musk keep saying every time someone asks, we're not going to touch Social Security. We're not going to touch Medicare. We're not going to touch Medicaid. All right, well, let's say that's true. It's not. But let's say that it is true. You can keep a car in pristine condition. If you don't put any gas in the car, it's not going to go. Social Security workers are the gas that makes this agency go. 2025 marks our 90th anniversary. The greatest moral promise this country has made to its citizens is Social Security. And for 90 years, we have not missed one payment. And I fear that very soon we will no longer be able to say that. Americans have worked their entire lives paying into this system with the promise that it will be there when they need it. And we have to work hard to make sure that that promise is fulfilled every day. And we can do that by supporting the federal workers who make sure this agency gets the checks out. That's it. All right. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Heather. Next up, we'll have Miss Donna Marie Woodson.
Yeah. Thank you. Hope I'm speaking loud enough. Hey, Betty. See friends over there. Yes, my name is Donna Marie Woodson, and I am a beneficiary of Social Security. I am also a 10-year survivor of colon and breast cancer. So trying to cut Social Security benefits is like I'm walking down the street and you just snatched my purse. That's my money. That is my money. And this whole slash and burn, which the people in the Oval, in the White House are doing, is all on purpose. They want this country to crumble to the ground and turn it into a hell. Essentially, because they don't care about the people. They just care about themselves. Looking in the mirror, oh yeah, I got some money. For real, you know, I'm saying that cruelty is the point of this whole administration. They want to burn everything to the ground. They've already started eliminating black people. We've watched off of the history books, taking down plaques and things. This is a full frontal assault on the American people. And I, for one, am not going to stand for it. And I hope you join me. As I tell my husband all the time, all of them are going to hell. Thank you.
Thank you. New address. That's right. Donna Marie Woodson, fired up, everybody. Our last speaker before we turn it back over to Congresswoman will be Miss Tanya Dale. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. After coming behind these wonderful speakers, good afternoon.
There you go.
I'm going to put my military voice in.
There you go.
And I am a veteran, too. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My fellow Americans, God bless you. Thank you, Congresswoman Adams, for inviting me. Thank you to my National Associated Letter Carrier Union, my President Sly Stevens. My President Sly Stevens. And I'm with the National Associated Letter Carriers Union, and they asked me to come to speak to you code 545. We all heard and seen what this so-called administration trying to do. And Social Security is our God-given rights. It's what we put in. That's right. What we've been putting in for years. That's right. As a child of 14 years old, when I started working back in New York, and I saw the tax bracket, and I asked the lady, my employer, what is SSA? Okay. And she told me it's Social Security. I said, ain't that for old people? And she said, if you live long enough and work long enough, you will see the benefits later on in life. Okay. Now, I remember years ago when people had to fight just to get Social Security. Yeah. Who remembers the commercials you used to have for these attorneys telling you, we can come help you get your Social Security. Call us. Give us a call. Now look what happened. Now look, years forward now, 2025, now we got to fight just to keep what's ours. Just to keep what we put in. Yes. Now they didn't tell me that back in 1978 when I was working that it's a possibility that you might end up losing your Social Security when you get older. Nobody even thought of that. This is like a living nightmare. Exactly. This is a living nightmare. Millions and millions of people will fall by the wayside. You cannot imagine The sum of millions of people are relying on one check. This is all they get, it's just one check. That's it. And it's not that much anyway, because we all know we're not getting what we actually put in.
Thank you.
Okay, nowhere near that. But that one check is our livelihood, the day to day, day to day. If this so-called administration, I can't even think about it, say it, do it to us,
Yeah.
millions of people will suffer. Medicare, Medicaid, all of that. You're going to have to decide whether you want to eat today or eat tomorrow. Should I go to the doctor today?
That's right.
Or maybe I should do some home remedies tomorrow.
That's right.
Everything that we work for and we strive for is on the line. Everything that is on the line. We should fight for it. We should continue to fight for it, because this is ours. This is ours. Nobody gave us this. Nobody gave us this. This is what they told us. This is what we used to get years ago, a letter in the mail. The Social Security used to send us a statement. Remember the statement? And they tell you each year what you put in. Now, if you reach this age, this is how much you're going to get. If you get disabled, this is how much you're going to get. So you had a track record of what you was putting in. So whether it look good or not, you say, okay. But to come to this year, 2025, and realize there's a halt, there's people in this system that want to take it away from us. How dare you? How dare you think you're going to take what is ours? And see, one thing about American people, one thing about all of us, when you back us against the wall, you corner us in, we got nothing to do but come out fighting. That's all we got to do. So I want to leave you with this quote by the late Representative John Lewis. And what did he say? Good trouble. Necessary. And I mean necessary trouble. And help redeem the soul of America. Thank you, guys.
Well, let me thank all of our speakers, Ms. Battle, Mr. Faison, Ms. Holloway, Ms. Woodson, and Ms. Dale. Thank you all so much. And I also want to thank the commissioner and thank all of you for coming out today. This impactful testimony proves why President Trump, Elon Musk, and Republicans in Congress need to keep their hands off of our Social Security. And I am committed to protecting this program for each of you. Remember, you are entitled to Social Security, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You are entitled to it, and if you have any issues accessing your Social Security benefits during this pivotal time, or any benefits that you're owed, please reach out to my office, because we're here to help wherever we can. And to the 110,000 Social Security recipients, I want you to know that you will always have an ally in me. I want to thank all of the guest speakers and all of the community for coming out. Promises made must be promises kept. And we're not going to stand for it. But let me just add, I need you to contact every single member of the United States Congress, including the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate, both Democrats and Republicans. This is really a Republican proposal. Let me just speak to the power right here. But also, it's important because we have a budget blueprint, and that budget blueprint is not the full budget yet. But Social Security is on this track, and we want to make sure that you're entitled to these benefits because you work for them. They're due you. So that, they say it's an entitlement. Well, yes, hell yeah, it is. You're entitled to it because you've worked for it. That's right. But let me encourage you to make sure whatever you do, whether you call whether you tweet, whether you text, whatever it is you do to contact, make sure you do, because you know, healthcare, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, those are not partisan issues. Right. They're not red issues, they're not blue issues, they're red, white, and blue issues because they impact this country. So I want to thank everybody for coming out, and be happy to answer a couple of questions, should there be some, from our, yes ma'am.
Congresswoman, do you think Democrats will be able to get enough Republican support to actually make any changes with the Social Security Administration?
All right, her question was, do I think that Democrats will be able to get enough support from Republicans? Well, let me just tell you, Republican constituents are out here doing the same thing. Why? Because they benefit as well from Social Security. And I believe if my colleagues have any good common sense, that they will protect their constituents, whether they are Democrats or Republicans. Now, I represent almost 700,000 people here in the 12th District. And not all 700,000 voted for me, but I had enough to vote for me to win. But there are Republicans in my district as well. I am pushing to make sure they get their Social Security too, and make sure I get mine as well. But so I really believe, a couple of years ago, there was a vote in the House to eliminate the Department of Education. Yes. Republicans stood with Democrats. Why? Because education, again, is not a partisan issue, and I think Social Security as well is not a partisan issue. And yes, I believe, because listen, the thing about it, if you vote no, if you vote to get rid of Social Security and cut it and all that stuff, you got to go back home and face your people. Yeah. And so they'll have to go back home and face their folks. So, yes. But I think we'll be able to we've got some like-minded people who understand. You know, they got grandmamas and great-grandmamas and veterans and other people who disabled folks who get those benefits. And I think we're all going to try to preserve them.
Could y'all please say what outlet you're from, please?
Mary Ramsey, the Charlotte Observer. Congresswoman, what specific action would you like congressional Democrats to take to fend off these Republican cuts to Social Security?
Well, one of the things, all of my colleagues are doing what I'm doing today and what we've been continuing to do, and that is to make sure that we alert the public, inform the public. That's important because we need the public to have our backs and to reach out to members of Congress. Because I have one vote, and we need to make sure that all of the folks who will be voting. That's one thing. The other thing is we've also appealed to the courts. And as you know, many of the EOs that President Trump has out there, executive orders, they're not laws. Executive orders are not laws, and laws are not made at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And so, but the reason that so much of what has happened has been pulled back. Think about it. Tariffs and so many other things. It's because of the groundswell from the community. Yes. And that's what we're asking. That's what my colleagues are asking. Because we are out here working for working people, for middle-class folks, for the least, the lost, and the left behind. Democrats are doing that right now. We're going to continue to do that, but we need the public to stand with us, to make those calls, to bring the damn pressure on the people. Right. Yes. That's really what it's going to take.
From WSOC, really big turnout, people really charged up. What does that say?
Well, that says to me that they're concerned about themselves if they are my age or older. And they're concerned about their families, their mothers and fathers and aunties and uncles, their veterans who've worked. So, and I think people see that this is a very serious time. It's a very serious time. And if you look at all of the cuts that this administration has done, my concern about cutting all of these jobs, well, who will deliver the doggone services if you don't have people? So I think that they're setting up a process for us to fail. And the fact that so many people have turned out, people who couldn't get out but want to be here, realize that Social Security is a lifeline, and it is a promise. And promises made should be promises kept.
counter to Project 2025 that in 2026 we can take back? That's what are you working on it?
Well, that's what we're working on. Let me just tell you, when good people go to the polls to vote for good people, then good things happen. But when good people don't go to the polls to vote for good people, bad people get elected, and they do awfully bad things to good people. That's what the hell's happening right now. All these bad people who got in, Trump and his cronies and dojies or whatever the hell they're called, they are bad people. They're doing bad things to good people. So we're looking ahead to the midterm. That's really going to be important. And while we can't take the other 2 years or whatever away from the president, we can certainly stop some of what we think will be going on, and that's what we have to do. Thank you.
Congresswoman, you have a question?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Any other questions from media?
People come to events like this, you leave with lots of different things, which is what you want. When folks leave today, they leave with only one thing. What's the one thing you want them to walk away with?
I want everybody to walk away with the fact that Social Security belongs to you, and we're not going to allow anyone to take it from us. Not President Trump, not Elon Musk, not any of the Doges, not the Speaker of the House. I've sent letters to him to call down this president, and that he should have the president push back on Musk. So I need for people to understand that we can do something about it. We can do something about it. But we're going to have to stand together. And if you need the addresses and so forth, I've got a list of every single person who serves in the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate, whether they are Democrats or Republicans, and you need to reach out to those folks. If enough people, I can tell you, we record all these calls and things that come in. So when people tell me, well, they're not answering the phone, well, so what? They've got to record the calls. And so I don't want anybody to feel discouraged. If we fight, we continue to fight, if we work together, stay together, support each other, we will be able to maintain our Social Security the way it was set up 90 years ago. That's almost a century. Okay? One more.
On a related note, are you aware of any local impacts in your district from the federal government's decision to end the Building Resilient Infrastructures and Communities, or BRIC program?
Am I aware of
Any local impacts from the end of the big BRIC program in your district?
Well, I have had some organizations to reach out to say that they have not received the funds that have been allocated to them. We're checking to make sure that, again, the promises made for the money that they should have received, that they will receive. So we do have some situations. We also have some where they've turned it back. In other words, I think, again, when you yell loud enough, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And so we've had some squeaky wheels. And I need for everybody, if you know something, say something. If you have a particular story, go to my website. We have a form that you don't have to put your name, but we want the stories, because those are the stories that are going to help us as we make the case for the American citizens. Okay? Thank you very much.
That's all the time we have for questions. If you'd like to reach out to the office, we'd be happy to answer questions for you. You can go to adams.house.gov and find all the information you need to contact us there.
All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. There, you're watching a live news conference with Congresswoman Alma Adams as they talk about the impacts, what they're calling, let me quote them correctly, reckless attacks on Social Security. They're targeting the Trump administration and also the efforts by Doge. All right, we want to send it now to a live news conference that's happening right now. The State Department is having their briefing. That is spokesperson Tammy Bruce right there taking questions. Let's take a listen in.
Happening, we are asked often by many of you in different ways, is that there is a constant, regular commitment to Gaza, to the Gazan people, certainly to one of our strongest, if not most stalwart ally, Israel, who have, by the way, a new ambassador from the United States, Ambassador Mike Huckabee. So we're very excited about the future. We are working constantly to have a ceasefire and to change the trajectory on the ground. That has not stopped. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tammy.
No, please.
Meanwhile, in Bangladesh, there are so many reports, like the New York Times also before 2 weeks reported the alarming rise of Islamist terrorists, Islamist extremism in Bangladesh under the Yunus-backed regime, including protesters openly displaying Osama bin Laden's images, even Nazi symbols like picture like this from Dhaka.
Yes.
And decided by figures like advisors of interim government of Bangladesh.
Sir, I've heard you, and I know and I appreciate your passion. And Bangladesh is a country with certain issues. They are also a country that we've talked about often, certainly with questions from the crew here. So for a specific dynamic, I'm going to have us take that away. What I do have is something I want to mention regarding Bangladesh, which is that there's been an arrest of a UK MP, Tulip Sadiq. This from the Bangladeshi courts have issued that arrest. It is, of course, all of this, and what you're discussing, even protests, etc., are a matter for the Bangladesh authorities to handle. And, of course, talking with them matters a great deal as well. So ultimately, the future of Bangladesh is going to be decided by the Bangladeshi people. They're facing what you've been describing for some, and in others that, of course, we've seen the reports as well. And, elections matter. We know, I don't want it to sound trite here, but it's true. Democracy matters, and actions by people matter to confront issues that might, in fact, as we've seen over the last 20, 25 years, destroy their lives. It's pretty clear what the choices are for many nations on this planet. So thank you, sir. Yes, sir, with the beard.
Thanks, Sammy. I want to ask about negotiations with Russia. Has there been any discussion of sanctions relief, and has the White House asked the State Department to draw up any list of sanctions that could be removed?
I won't speak to any discussion between the White House, certainly, and the State Department, Secretary Rubio, and any other leader here. What I can say is a reminder that what was clear from the beginning, there would be no negotiations, no decisions, no arrangements until after the carnage has stopped. And after Palm Sunday, it's clearly a dynamic where there have to be more questions about the nature of who's really committed to peace and a ceasefire. But there is no negotiations or arrangements and based on the regular statements from the administration and from Secretary Rubio as well, that until it's a meat grinder. That has not changed. And until that stops, nothing like that is happening. And yet we continue to work, obviously, for the ceasefire in that regard. Yes, sir.
Hi, Tim. Thank you. I had a question about Sudan. The outgoing Biden administration declared the RSF's actions as a genocide. Does the Trump administration agree with that designation of genocide?
Here's what I can tell you about what's been happening. The United States condemns in the strongest possible terms the RSF's continued escalation of attacks on El Fasher, North Darfur, as well as the attacks on nearby Zamzam and Abu Shuk, internally displaced persons, which is the IDP camps. We are deeply alarmed by reports the RSF has deliberately targeted civilians and humanitarian actors in Zamzam and Abu Shuk. We condemn the RSF's attacks on the most vulnerable of civilians, including killings of at least 10 U.S.-funded relief workers providing critical life-saving assistance. We urge the protection of civilians, including humanitarian workers. We also call for the opening of humanitarian corridors to enable humanitarian access and the safe passage of civilians fleeing violence. The belligerents must uphold their obligations under international humanitarian law and must be held accountable.
So
Now,
planning to affirm the designation?
well, I've made my statement clear, but what this does mark, today marks 2 years since the start of the conflict in Sudan. And this conflict has caused death, destruction, and a displacement crisis that has the potential to destabilize the entire region with massive flows of displaced people, arms, and disease. It is past time for the warring parties to put down their guns and negotiate a durable peace that allows for broad-based participatory dialogue so the Sudanese people can decide their future in a peaceful and unified Sudan.
just to clarify,
Yes, I've answered you. I've extensively answered you quite extensively, sir. Go ahead, please.
Sudan, I wondered, the previous administration had been involved in trying to facilitate peace talks between the two parties. Are there any such activities going on?
Well, I can't report on anything that is happening or might happen.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Right now, you're watching State Department briefing underway in Washington, D.C. We want to shift off that because we are following some breaking news right now out of Dallas, Texas. Here is a look at our content partner, sister station there, WFAA, as in their live coverage. Before we get to that live coverage, I just want to update you on what they have right now and what we're getting in. Numerous police officers and first responders were seen outside of Wilmer-Hutchins High School in Southeast Dallas on Tuesday afternoon. Numerous police cars, fire trucks, paramedics in that area of the school. Carlene, you heard shooting as they were reporting, possible shooting.
Police might have called for a call for a shooting.
A call for a shooting.
Still reports, still preliminary.
Still early. Let's dip into their coverage right now. This is WFAA in Dallas, Texas.
The tempo of the response right now that we're seeing.
And it's important because when people hear active shooter, that the first thing you think of is maybe what happened up in Collin County a couple of years ago. That's not the situation here. Regardless, we did see students getting out of the school. They were evacuated from the school because there is police activity inside. But right now at this hour, as you and I are discussing this, as we're watching the video here, it looks like the scene is secure, that police have a handle on what's happening there at Wilmer-Hutchins High School. And you may have mentioned this, but for people to get their bearings here, Wilmer-Hutchins High School is on the southeast side of the city. It's essentially at Interstate 20 and Interstate 45. It's in District 8 on the southeast side of the city. If you're going towards Houston, maybe down towards Wilmer, down towards Hutchins as well. That's what the city, the school rather, is named for.
And I just want to piggyback as well. When we saw that procession of students, and you can see there the police officers lined up and the incredible police response there. But again, as Jason just mentioned, by their body language, by their positioning, by the fact that they're not, they don't have shields up, they're not taking high-powered weapons. And to their credit, the students and the teachers were in a very orderly fashion walking down that street to get to where they needed to be. I'm told that we have one of our reporters who is there just getting to the scene, Tiffany Liu. She is just getting there. Tiffany, I know we have you on the phone right now. I know you're just getting there, but can you give us a sense of what you're seeing and hearing right now?
Hey, Chris, I actually am not there, but I have been talking to sources with Dallas Fire Rescue in the last 15 minutes, and they're telling me that this is a full active shooter call. That means they're calling multiple apparatuses there, about probably 25, from ambulances to engines, anything of that sort. This is a full-on active shooter call that's heading to Wilmer-Hutchins. According to my fire sources, there were multiple shots heard inside the building. Obviously, all this information is still very fluid. Some hearing 3 to 6 shots were heard. Being told that there is a student that was shot in the leg who is apparently in stable condition. Unsure if there are any more people who were shot at this time. The we're being told that police are clearing the school right now. It is on lockdown, and students and I believe staff are sheltering in place. But again, all this is very fluid information. That's just what I'm getting from my Dallas Fire Rescue sources at this time.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Tiffany. And as you're able to talk a little bit more to the folks that you're on the line with, we'll check back in with you and try to get some more information. But I want to reiterate the fact that going through the school before they're going to give it all clear, that is a very thorough and meticulous process, and it really involves covering every inch of that school.
They're looking, first of all, for people to make sure everyone's safe. Second of all, they're looking for evidence to make sure if there is a scene there or in multiple places that they block that off. Back to what Tiffany said too, though, this is a full active shooter call. That's what the police and fire, that's how they respond to these situations. And as you know from covering these too, Chris, that essentially means send everything, and if it's not that bad, we'll bring it back. But we want everything on scene just in case it is that bad. Fortunately, it does not look like this at this point. We're also seeing here, on the helicopter, students walking, different groups of students. These are likely different classes walking out, and they're spread all around this campus. It's a huge campus on the southeast side of the city of Dallas at Interstate 20 and Interstate 45. But there are some back at the stadium. There are some out in front of the school as well. They're spread everywhere. Again, it's very important to point out here one thing. No one's running. There isn't that fear that you see in a lot of these other situations. It looks like at this hour here, at almost 2 o'clock, the situation is secure. And to reiterate what Dallas ISD is asking us, they're asking parents at this time that the scene's secure, they're saying, but they're also saying, do not come down here just yet. Let us get a handle of this. Let us figure out where everyone is first. This is some pretty compelling helicopter video we're watching here. It's not unusual to see this. It looks like students or people coming out with their hands up. These situations are not unusual. Police officers, like you said, sweeping the building. They're trying to get a handle on what they're seeing here, find out who's who, and it's not unusual for them to ask people to raise their hands for everyone's protection.
No, I mean, in a situation like this, naturally emotions are running high. The blood is up, it's running on all sides, and what they just want to make sure, to have students come out this way is to say, hey, I'm not a threat here, and that allows the police to sort of clear them, get them to safety, and sort of continue the work of making sure that the rest of the school is secure.
I remember last year after this happened on the same campus, the superintendent of Dallas ISD, Stephanie Elizalde, just heartbroken that this could have happened. I believe that last year it happened outside near the stadium. But clearly there is an issue if once again, 1 year later, we're having a firearm inside when there are metal detectors that are supposed to prevent these things. I mean, that's the peace of mind that parents have when they send their child to school. Listen, they're going in there, but at least there's somebody on the front, at the perimeter, making sure no one walks in with any type of a weapon.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it was something that that Albert Martinez, the police chief for Dallas ISD, that he addressed, and he said, look, this was in some ways we failed.
Yeah.
Any time that a weapon is used on school grounds in this day and age with the protocols that are in place, there has been a breakdown at some point, whether it be technical, whether it be human error, but there has been a breakdown because that's not supposed to happen. And he talked about fine-tuning some of the protocols, to adding more staff, to beefing up training, because the goal was to basically provide a TSA level of security outside of the school. And as we take a look there, as Jason mentioned, students are coming from different areas of the school, and we see another large group being let out right there.
And just to reset, if you're just now joining us, exactly what's going on here. There has been a shooting. There was apparently one student who was shot in the leg there at Wilmer-Hutchins High School. This is on the southeast side of the city of Dallas at Interstate 20 and Interstate 45. The student, we understand, is stable, is not a critical situation from what we understand at this point, but police, of course, are evacuating the entire school. There's still students coming out. We saw from the helicopter a few moments ago with what's happening there. Bottom line here, too, is this is the second time in 1 year at the same campus there has been a child shot at that school. There will be tons of questions about how another firearm got into that school. You mentioned the police chief, Albert Martinez from Dallas ISD Schools, and he was talking about last year that there were failures, that the student last year went through a metal detector that day, and the detector did not go off and alert school officials that that student last year walked in with a firearm. Yep. There will be many of those same questions again. But here we are, just as school is about to be letting out here at Wilmer-Hutchins High School, and students are being evacuated, leaving all their belongings inside and getting out of the school after a half dozen shots went off there this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost to the day. A year ago, Dallas ISD trustee Maxie Johnson held a whole community forum to talk about what had happened at Wilmer-Hutchins, to go over parents' concerns and to try to come to some consensus about, hey, we need to make this as safe as possible so that when you drop your kids off in the morning, you know they're going to be safe, until they leave that school.
And for parents who are obviously, scared to death with what they're seeing here and what they're hearing and the phone calls and texts they're probably getting from their children, Dallas ISD is asking us to share that parents should not go to campus just yet. There are students kind of in every direction. There are staff members in every direction. The police are trying to get a handle on exactly what they're dealing with, how many scenes they have there, how many suspects there might be involved in this. And because of that, they're saying, listen, parents, let us get a handle on this first, and then we'll have a place for you to reunify with your child.
And I'm told, I mentioned earlier, we have crews heading there to the scene. Jobin Puneker is now there live at Wilmer-Hutchins High School. Jobin, can you bring us up to speed on what you're seeing and hearing right now?
Yeah, Chris, we just rolled up on scene here. It is gridlock in and around the school. We're on the north end of this campus. There's a parking lot. You can hear more law enforcement as they're coming down the road. You can actually see a long line, and I'm sure you have a better vantage point. You have a better vantage point from the chopper, just how many law enforcement vehicles we have here. I think we're counting closer to 40 to 50 to 60. We've seen DART police here. We see Dallas County sheriffs. We see Dallas police as well. They obviously, it's on lockdown right now. You have a whole bunch of parents that are sort of waiting around to see what's happening. They're communicating with their children, making sure that they are okay. There were a few children that were already on the outskirts of the campus, and they have been reunited with their family members. I've got Adante here. Adante, you're step in here for a minute here, and Adante is a senior here at Wilmer-Hutchins. We talked with your mom. Your mom's okay with us talking with you. First of all, where were you when this was all happening?
I was in the foyer with my principal, Ms. Gilliard, and Ms. Foster, along with my band director, Mr. Woodhouse, and two of my band members.
Okay. And did you hear something? Did you hear a commotion?
We were standing there talking, and we heard a few gunshots, and we were still standing there, confused, and then we heard more, saw a few students running, heard a few screams, and we had to go and take cover back in the band room.
Could you tell where those gunshots were coming from?
I would say on the main street or the cafeteria, somewhere in that area.
Okay, and you're in the foyer, and where is that in relation to the campus?
Like right when you walk into the campus through the main doors, it's an open area.
If you can, sort of set the scene for us. What did it look like in the, inside the campus building? What were the students doing? I'm assuming there's a lot of commotion, a lot of chaos.
Yeah, it happened around lunchtime, so we're just in a foyer, a few students in there just talking, and all of a sudden it got quiet and you just hearing gunshots.
Yeah, again, I'm so sorry that you're having to deal with this. I know this is not easy, and this is now 2 years in a row that you have to deal with this. Were you here on that day when we had another shooting that was a targeted shooting? One student shot another student in the leg. Were you there for that?
Yes, I was here. I was also in the band room with my band directors.
What's going through your mind as you're now seeing 2 events in a row where we have major events where we have a shooter on campus?
It's kind of scary thinking that it would have been better from last year's shooting, but things happen, and just really scared.
Yeah. Anything you can tell me about? So how did you get to come out and reunite with your mom?
I was in the band room, and the Dallas police officers came through. They told everybody to come out with their hands up, and we walked outside, and I saw my mom and just reunited with her.
This is Adante. He's a senior. I appreciate you for talking with us again.
Thank you.
I know this is not easy, and it's going to be several hours before we figure out what exactly has happened here. But Adante just told us he heard several rounds of fire inside, away from the foyer, in one of the main rooms. Again, this was during lunchtime. Again, just to set the scene here, traffic is still coming through. Most of it is law enforcement, and again, we're seeing more and more police cars come through here. We've got Dallas Fire Rescue, Dallas Police, a lot of undercover units as well here. So this campus has 2 separate parking lots. You have a main lot, and you have a lot on the west end. It feels like, or at least looks like, a lot of the law enforcement is centered around this western lot. So we don't know if something has happened there. We don't know if that's where our victims may be. So we're still trying to get a grasp of what's happening here.
That's good detail, Jobin. Thanks so much for that. And it's important, Chris, to point out that he's talking about.
Bringing you live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. We have breaking news, real-time coverage coming from Dallas. I'm Colin Mayfield alongside Jeb Goldman for the next hour as we continue to monitor the situation from Wilmer-Hutchins High School. We're going to stick with WFAA on this as they are the local station closest to this situation. But it seems like there's a large police presence. WFAA not confirming this is a school shooting. You just heard one of the reporters talking about a number of incidents that have happened in the last couple of years. That student that you just heard from witnessing, or at least being involved in 2 different shootings over the last 2 years, and just hearing the heartbreaking story and the comments that he had not only on today's situation, but obviously 2 years ago as well. We'll go back to this coverage as it is in progress, and this is why WCNC Plus is so critical during breaking stories just like this.
Live right now, the first responders who are here on this side of the high school as well. And as we keep going over further to the left here, we see the football field over here as well, who has got, you can see some of the players who are on the football, or excuse me, some of the students who are on the football field right over there as well. You can see that's where there's a rally area that's been set up, it seems, for students from this school to move over in that direction. We see law enforcement headed over in that direction as well. We're talking to some of the parents and students who are here waiting, who have left the campus. I spoke with one 9th grader who says that she heard that gunshot, similar to the student that Jobin was talking about. She says she heard 1 shot from her classroom. She says that the teacher went to the door, locked the door immediately, got all of the students in the corner, she says, and says that the teacher told them that he would protect them, that they were his #1 priority to keep them safe in that moment. That teacher told that girl and her classmates to call their parents and tell them what was going on and tell them that they were okay. That's why you see so many parents here who are got those frantic calls from their students about a shooting that reportedly happened inside the school here. And that's why you've seen this response as well. I was talking with that 9th grade student who says that she was scared, understandably. She said she was emotional. She called her mom in that moment to tell her that she was okay. She was grateful for the teacher saying that he would protect her if anything were to happen. She heard that 1 shot, and similar to the student that Jobin was talking about, she says that shot sounded like it came from near the cafeteria. cafeteria. She doesn't know if there were more shots. We don't know at this point if there were more shots, but she says, similar to the student Jobin was talking to, that shot came from somewhere near the cafeteria area, which was close to where her classroom was, and left to go be with her family. Now she's happy to be back with her family. You can imagine her family is happy to have her as well. We'll keep you updated on what we learned. For now, back to you.
Greater feeling, Cole, than as a parent than to know your child is safe. Hey, we're going to let you go and do a little bit more work and talk to who you need to talk to, but I want to loop Jobin Puneker back in and bring him back into the conversation. Jobin, have you been able to talk with any of the parents that may have shown up there? I know there's been there is a reunification, and Jason, you touched on the fact Dallas ISD was asking parents, don't come to the school just yet. But I think we got Jobin now. Have you been able to talk to anyone there about what's happening or what they're seeing?
Well, Chris, if that message is out there from the district, these parents are not heeding that, and I think we can all understand that we want to see our loved ones, we want to see our children, and so, yes, people are still coming up to find their children, reunify with their children. Shauna Williams has 2 children. We're going to talk with her briefly. You have 2 children.
Yes.
At this school.
Yes.
How did you hear about it? Was it a text message? I mean, you've heard that was on lock.
My son called me. He was outside running, and he said that gunshots was over his head or something he was saying, and then he was just getting from a career institute. Okay. And then he went in the cafeteria. He saw 2 of his friends get shot.
You're saying your son's 2 friends were shot in the cafeteria?
Yes. That's what he said.
And have you had a chance to talk with him?
My son?
Yeah.
Yeah, my son is over there.
And how is? I'm assuming he's shocked.
They shocked. They shooken up. They were. My oldest one was crying, and then my other one, he called me, and I work at the school, and I had to come race over here and see what's going on because he scared me. I was so scared. Yeah, I was.
As a parent, you're hearing about how close these shootings are now to us.
And this was like last year, the same time. It happened the same time last year. Yeah.
We know about the school having metal detectors. We know that they have clear bag policies.
They do. And even the badges, they have to wear the badges. But I don't see how they could have got in the building. I don't see how they could have got, because it's secured. When I come up here to get them, and they always check for my badge and ID and everything. So I don't know how they could have got in the school building.
It feels like you're in a state of just shock, bewilderment, all the things.
I had to drive here safely because I was about to pass out.
Why pass out?
Because my son was screaming and hollering like he was in a range of fire. That's why I had to rush from my job and come up here and see where he was, because I got 2 sons.
2 sons who go here.
Yeah, 2 sons who go here.
We're starting to see a whole bunch of parents now trying to find their children. Explain to us how a parent is feeling in this moment.
Everybody was frantic. My car is way down at the other end, and along with some other parents, we had to walk all the way to the stadium. That's how eager we wanted to get to our kids. Yeah, it's very bad that we have to keep going through this. It's sad.
Speak to that if you can. Just the nature of these school shootings, and they're happening over and over and over again. This happened almost a year ago, exactly to the day.
Yes, and it's traumatizing. I mean, I be at work and I have to stop everything I'm doing because my baby like, Mama, come get me, come get me. And I was like, oh my God, so I just had to leave work real fast and come get them. And the same thing happened last year around about this time. I was at work and I was frantic. It's the parents' worst nightmare.
Shauna, that is such a tough feeling to feel, and I'm sure you're feeling a lot of things right now.
Yes.
And I'm hoping the best for you, and I'm hoping that you had a chance to talk with your children through what they just witnessed.
I'm trying to put them in homeschool because I can't take another round of this. This is horrifying, and it's just sad, because somebody had to go through this with their kids being shot. That's a parent's worst nightmare.
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of, a nightmare unfolding here at Wilmer-Hutchins. Yet again, another shooting. Again, we're still limited on a lot of the details. But right now, again, we still have traffic going in and out. They're not going to go much past here. Again, we have 2 parking lots that are now filled with law enforcement vehicles. School still on lockdown. Will be on lockdown for quite a while.
Jobin, thanks for that info. You get chills listening Shauna there, the parent he was just talking to a moment ago about the call she got from her child, and then saying that this happened last year. Now I'm thinking about homeschooling my child because of what happened. It's heartbreaking to hear that. We do have an update from Rebecca Lopez, our senior crime and justice reporter here. She's very well sourced with police sources across North Texas. She is telling us that she's hearing from sources this is no longer an active shooter, as Chris and I mentioned a moment ago. She also says, this is an important detail, SWAT was not called to the scene here. The scene is under control, and South Central Patrol, that is the precinct of Dallas Police in the South Central part of the city, it is now helping out Dallas ISD. So the important thing with that, SWAT not being called there, that means this is moving from active shooter now to the investigative stage to find out exactly what happened here.
And I want to bring in John Matthews, who is an expert on these school shootings. John, can you hear us on the line there?
Yes, I can hear fine.
John, the fact that SWAT, what Jason and what Rebecca just learned, that SWAT was not called out, by the tempo of this, by the fact that we're not seeing students and teachers and police officers running across the campus, what does that overall tell you about the incident at this point in time?
Well, it would lead me to believe that the suspect is either in custody or has been neutralized at this time. If you're not calling a tactical team in to take care of the situation, if there's not a lot of panic going on, then they're moving from the active shooter part of the investigation into the crime scene investigation. They're going to be securing all of the students. The number one task for law enforcement right now is to make sure that there's no further threat to students, teachers, parents, no further danger in the school. So they're going to be securing the school, securing the students, and then starting their investigation.
John, we always appreciate your expertise, but unfortunately we have to talk to you about another situation like this again. I want to take you back because I believe we spoke to you last year at this time when the last shooting happened here on this same campus. And in that situation, there was a student who got a firearm through a metal detector without the detector alerting any of the school officials. And now here we have a similar situation. We don't yet know the details about whether someone went through a metal detector or not. That still hasn't been sorted out here. But Dallas ISD was promising at the time, listen, we're going to do a full investigation. We're going to figure out what our vulnerabilities are, and we're going to figure this out. Here we are a year later, same situation, terrified parents here going to the campus rushing to get their children.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I've seen this over and over again. I've literally done hundreds of assessments at districts all over the nation, and unfortunately, it's very, very easy to get a firearm on campus. If the metal detectors are not working properly, if they're not set properly, if they're not monitored, or other areas of ingress and egress in the school where there's not metal detectors. I had one school I visited where the kids knew the hours of when the metal detectors were monitored and simply brought the guns in off hours. So, unfortunately,
John, let me ask you this. What needs to happen then? You see this over and over. What needs to happen then to better harden these schools?
Well, I think they've got to do a very good and thorough assessment, and then if they find deficiencies, they've got to close the gap. All too often we see deficiencies, and yet they're not corrected. So it's incumbent upon the school districts to be proactive, to do proactive assessments, and to correct the deficiencies. Those kids are in school every day. They see the routine, they know the routine, and those wanting to harm others have the ability to breach our security, unfortunately. So we've got to do a better job at target hardening.
Yeah, John, I mean, Albert Martinez, who's the police chief of the Dallas ISD Police, he was only a couple months into the job when the shooting happened at this time last year. That is not the case this time, so there will be probably a different standard. In terms of the information that we're getting about this incident, our investigative reporter Morgan Young has also been talking to some of her sources with the Dallas Police Department. They are telling her basically that this shooting occurred in the hallways inside the school, so not in a classroom, but in the hallways.
We've got some breaking situations here on WCNC Plus inside the Impact News studio. We've got a live police chase happening in South LA by the Alhambra Police Department, apparently chasing a driver wanted for allegedly making criminal threats in the South LA area right now. And you're going to see that in the box, bottom right-hand side of your screen as we continue to monitor this situation by WFAA in Dallas. But as you can see, it seems like this situation is continuing in the South LA area. Getting this information and this shot from NBC News in Los Angeles. Seems like we have numerous helicopters seeing this pursuit, and the driver that could be seen apparently driving at high speeds on a freeway close here to Koreatown, as you can see from the shot in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, giving us a lot of different angles from where this suspect might be. Seems like they've stopped, though, and they're searching a neighborhood on the ground. Again, we'll continue to keep this locked as we monitor the situation. It seems like police are on this scene here in Dallas at this high school, Wilmer-Hutchins High School to be exact. We're apparently hearing numerous reports apparently about a suspect in this firing a gun at another student. We're not exactly sure where this suspect might be or if in the moment police are trying to search for this person, but it seems like the activity has died down. We'll go back to WFAA as they continue to monitor the situation, and we'll also keep you updated on the situation in LA.
Thanks for that.
And we did just get confirmation from Dallas ISD that Wilmer-Hutchins High School has been secured. I know that is what every mom, every dad, every guardian has been waiting to hear, that the campus is at this point secured. They are coming up with reunification plans right now. Those will be shared very shortly here. The only thing they ask is that you please have your photo ID handy. Again, they cannot just release children to anyone's custody who shows up at the school, so they're asking you, please bring your ID, and they should be ready to share some details on exactly where and when you can meet your child here coming up shortly.
And Jobin was already talking to some parents there and seeing some children who had reunified. Those are students, I believe, that maybe ran out their front door, but there are a number we're seeing right here that are around the stadium area, which is likely some classes on the south end of the high school. The stadium is on the southern end of this high school, and just to give your bearings again, if you're just now joining us, this is happening at Wilmer-Hutchins High School, which is in the southeast corner of Dallas. It is at the corner essentially of Interstate 20 and Interstate 45 down on the southeast side. Yeah, again, we have several crews there at the scene talking to the folks who are affected by this. Want to get back to Cole Sullivan to kind of loop us in on where you are, Cole, and what you're seeing and hearing at this point.
And Chris, one of the most horrifying things about this for families who are here right now is this has happened before. A year ago, almost to the day, they came here because their loved ones had a similar call home saying that there had been a shooting at the high school. And I want to introduce you to someone who was here when that happened last year. Haley, your sister is now inside here. How is she doing? What has she told you?
She told me she was one of the last people to get out. There was a lot of screaming. She heard 3 bullets come from the cafeteria. As soon as they got out, they were yelling at them to keep their hands up. You know, this year it got way more strict than last year. Last year we had to wait a few hours to be able to get out. This time it was less than an hour. It got really scary for her because we thought it was just a drill. And it's really scary because this isn't the first time it happened. We've also had threats before. This is the second time there's actually been a shooting, and I feel like it's going to happen again because security just doesn't work here.
Your sister, she's okay right now. Where is she?
So they're keeping all the students at the stadium, like right over there, and I'm guessing most of them are there. I don't see a lot of them, which is really worrying because I know there might still be some students inside, and there's some people missing.
How did you find out that this was happening?
I didn't until she texted me. It was like half an hour ago. It wasn't on the news or anything, so I didn't believe her at first until she started sending me links to live news reports, so we rushed over here.
What did you think when you realized that this had happened again?
I'm really not surprised. According to her, one of the metal detectors wasn't working this morning, and that's exactly what happened last year, you know. And then the teachers are the ones that check the backpacks. They didn't check them last year, and I probably feel like they didn't check them this year either.
I know that there were a lot of pushes from students and from parents to increase security here and increase communication. It sounds like some things you think may not have changed. Has anything changed in the response you've seen here since this happened last year?
A lot more police has shown up, which is a really good sign, but nothing has really changed within the actual school. My sister, she's always telling me they're not checking properly, they're not checking backpacks, so I feel like we all knew this was bound to happen again.
I know that's such a hard thing to think about, and to see this response then after this, I am so glad that your sister's okay. I know she's out here on the football field with other students right now. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us. I appreciate it. This is something we're hearing from a lot of folks here on the scene, having this really horrible sense of deja vu. We were here last year, almost a year ago to the week, to the day, it was to the week that a shooting happened at this school a year ago. Now family is back here again, and you can see where we see students here standing up in the field. If we can zoom in, you can see they're on the bleachers there. It looks like they're starting to move, which may be some of that reunification work that we know the district is working on right now. But you can see parents and students who are here waiting, so many of them on their phones, talking to their kids who are on the inside of the school or out on this football field, waiting for that hug to be able to know that they're safe. Hearing that they're safe is one thing, seeing it and feeling it for themselves is a different thing for families. And we know there are a lot of questions that families still have for the district after.
Just wanted to update our viewers who are watching us here on WCNC Plus. We are watching the situation that was supposed to be a live police chase in LA. The situation is ongoing, but the car has stopped and officers seem to be searching for a suspect. That person, apparently, based on what NBC News in LA was reporting, a driver chasing them apparently for making criminal threats in the South LA neighborhood. Apparently, the driver was seen driving at high speeds on freeways before getting off and then driving on the wrong side of the street to where now it looks like investigators and police have pulled up. It looks like things have kind of calmed down, but we haven't had an update from news sources in LA on this situation. It seems like the situation, though, in Dallas seems to be moving along as police have finally secured the building of this high school and are now reunifying parents and students. So we'll continue to monitor both situations and send you back to the coverage ongoing at WFAA in Dallas.
Find out more information. But Dia, you're actually with some of the parents trying to get to their students, right?
Yeah, Jason, it's been a little heated out here off and on because it feels like deja vu, as a lot of my fellow colleagues have mentioned already. There are dozens of parents out here. I'm going to have Josh, my photographer that's working with me today, turn around and show you just the line of people who are all behind here. You have all kinds of folks who are walking a half a mile or more just to get to the police barricade in order to get some sort of information about where to get their kids. We're, again, about a half a mile away from Eagle Stadium at Wilmer-Hutchins. And so, again, you can hear tensions are flaring with these parents trying to talk to law enforcement behind them. And you can understand that they're trying to protect the scene. They're trying to protect the investigation and make sure everyone's safe. One of those parents who's here is Janet Garcia. We had a chance to connect. Her daughter, Aaliyah, is a student at Wilmer-Hutchins. And kind of take me back to that moment when you got the call.
I was at the grocery store, just, getting my groceries, getting stuff done so I could come home and make dinner. And she calls me. She's in and out because, the school. And she's like, Mom, there's a shooting. And I'm like, what's going on? It hung up. I haven't been able to reach her since then. But she sounded okay. She said she was safe. She said that they moved them to the stadium, I'm assuming, and she's safe. But, oh, my goodness, just my heart drops because we hear about this all the time. And I'm just like, oh, not my baby, you know, because that leaves a mark in our kids' heads. Like, they don't, it's a mental thing as much as it is for them to come to school tomorrow. Like, how are they going to face this? How are they going to, you know, see their I just hope the school has a good counseling program or something, because these kids are going to definitely need it after this.
Now, Janet, when we first kind of started talking, I mean, your hands right now are still shaking.
Oh, yeah, because I just still don't know if she's okay. Until I see my baby, like, flesh, blood, like her body, I'm gonna be like this. I want to make sure she's okay. She's my baby. She's, you know, she's my oldest. She's a very smart kid, very responsible kid. So it just hurts me.
How long have you been here? How would you describe the scene with all of these parents and families trying to get these kids out?
Look, me and my boyfriend tried to go around, and they said no. We tried to go through the elementary school. They said no. They said come down this road and you'll be able to go see, go get them. But I understand the police, and I understand they're still doing their thing, so I'm being patient, but I understand it. Like, I understand I'm just like these parents trying to, be calm, and I want to lash out, but it's not the time. But I really hope they start giving us more information. That would be a little bit more, it would give me more peace of mind.
You know, this has happened before here at Wilmer-Hutchins. What's your message for the school, for administrators about situations like this and what you parents are going through out here right now?
I understand this is my daughter's first year. I moved from Fort Worth to Hutchins, and I understand their protocols. They have metal detectors. My kid was shocked when she was like, "I have to wear a clear backpack, Mom," and I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, I have to go through metal detectors every day." I just don't understand it. I don't understand it either. I'm trying to make it make sense to her. And even as a grown adult, I don't understand why this is happening. Even in the school system, why my kid has to go through school with a backpack that's clear, always having these, I just hope they have a way to help these kids get educated when it comes to gun violence. It is such a big thing, and we've been going through this, not just here in Dallas and every other state. It's happened, and this is why we're so frantic, because we've seen what it could cause. We've seen what damage it does to a community, to a city, to anywhere. So I just really hope they implement more to educate these kids. It's not the answer. It's not the answer.
Just one more, Janet. When you see Aaliyah and she comes out after all this is over,
I am I'm gonna feel like my whole body's gonna be okay. Like, right now, I just feel shaky. I don't feel like I'm okay. I feel like a little lost. But we're gonna have a moment. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a moment. Even for her, I think she's very strong-minded. But this type of situation, I don't think she understands it. I don't think she comprehends it as well. So I really hope the district does a little bit more when it comes to this type of situations. But I hope so.
Janet, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Like I mentioned to you guys earlier, man, there are probably 40 to 50 cars lining this street in front of me. Families a little bit further, not too far out of the view of our cameras. You've seen moms up here, dads, grandparents, siblings, all just trying to get access to the kids. Now, the last update we did hear from law enforcement that's kind of protecting the scene right now is that once they're able to secure whatever the scene is, make sure everything is okay at the school and at the stadium, and they can figure out which kids belong to who, these families are going to be able to show their identification and take their kids home. The other thing, though, I mentioned how far it is. No one's going to be able to drive, so all of these cars are going to be left here while concerned parents, some who have not been able to talk to their children on the phone since the shooting happened, are waiting up there. So they're going to have to walk all the way up there in hopes that they can show their identification, get their kids, and that they're at this location and not one of the other pickups. Jason, I'm telling you, the biggest concern that these folks have is clear communication, not knowing where to go, and not being able to reach their kids and find out if they're doing all right.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dee. I mean, you showing us that and seeing the parents there lined up, and you can really get a sense of their frustration at having to be forced to wait before getting closer to their child. And then, what you heard Janet talking about her daughter Aaliyah, and it's one of the really good things about the kids having cell phones is the parents are getting information instantaneously as it's happening. They're getting calls. The bad side of that is, if you're Janet, you're getting a call from your daughter Aaliyah saying, "Mom, there's been a shooting," and then you don't hear from her, and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting, which can be incredibly scary and painful.
And it's obvious why, tensions are flaring from parents, as Dia just mentioned there a moment ago. Let me, we've been on the air for a little bit more than an hour here, and just to reset, if people are just not coming across this, there has been a shooting at Wilmer-Hutchins High School in the southeast corner of the city of Dallas. Interstate 20, Interstate 45 is kind of the location of the school there. It was around the lunch hour when this happened. There were apparently 3 to 6 gunshots, we understand. Students were running. Some took cover in a band room, as Job and Paniker interviewed some witnesses a moment ago. The shooting actually occurred in the hallways, according to sources telling Morgan Young this, one of our investigative reporters. One person was shot in the calf, in the leg area, and is on the way to the hospital at this hour. And it's an initial belief right now, Morgan is telling us, that this might be some type of gang-related incident.
And I do understand. Cole Sullivan, we have Cole right now. Cole, you have someone with you.
It looked like they're not in critical condition. There was a outside student who probably opened the door to let someone in. First thing, the school is safe now. Everything is secure. Hopefully that the person who is the suspect probably in custody. I can say that it is a sad day for DISD, and I'm thankful for all the fire department, the police department, the state troopers, the DART, and DISD came to the rescue on a fast pace and secured the school. I think it secures the school is secure. Thank you for getting that the school is safe now.
So, what do you know about injuries to students and potentially staff?
I think the injury, to my knowledge right now, there is not a life-threatening injury to any of the students, which is a blessing right now. I'm glad that of. Now it's just trying to get the student mind together, try to help them, So I think that we need to pray for the parents and also pray for the student, Wilmer-Hutchins. That is an incident that happened, but we always got to pray and bring the family together and bring the community together.
And you mentioned 3 students were injured?
Yes, 3.
Do you know if all 3 were shot?
I can't say that all 3 of them were shot or injured, but I know there were 3 there, and I have not talked to any of the officer. DISD is in control. It's not Dallas Police Department. They're securing, so I got to get clearance from DISD. I did speak to the superintendent. She here, and she is on board, and whatever we need, we at Dallas Police Department, DPD, we're here as a supporting group. Just like the Sheriff Department, just like the Constable Department, we are a supporting group.
Sir, your understanding is that the suspect is in custody?
My thing that they are aware of who the suspect is, and I cannot say they're in custody or not.
Okay, 3 people, 3 students injured? Any adults?
No, to my knowledge, there was 3 student injuries.
Do you have a sense of where in the school this may have occurred? Or?
No, I do not know.
Sir, can you talk about, this is the second time, almost a year ago to this week, we were out here for another shooting at this school. What has gone wrong here that this has happened twice?
Well, I think that you cannot over-police anything. You cannot over-police a student. When you enter a building, you have some weak spot in any kind of secure building, that someone can let someone in the building, someone you think you might know, someone you think you don't know. So I cannot speak on it with the technology. So I think with all the technology we got, did we learn from the incident that happened before? So do you compare that? So I leave that to the expert to tell us how we can do that.
Just so we're clear on kind of the recap for those who are watching, so your understanding is that somebody was allowed into the school that may not go to the school?
I don't know, but someone had to open the door.
That's what you've been told. Someone opened a door.
Yeah, someone. Yeah, that's what I've been
This is
told.
not a student who brought a weapon.
No. We don't know. Only thing I've been told is someone let the student in.
Thank you, sir. Anything else we need to know?
No, just pray for the students.
Thank you. Thanks very much, sir. I appreciate it. That was Deputy Mayor Tennell Atkins. He's the city councilman who represents this district. He came from the command post to give us that update right now. And he says that someone let the suspect into the school. He's got some information from DPD and also from DISD police. He says that 3 students were injured. He said none of those injuries are life-threatening, but we don't know if those 3 students were shot as well. He says DISD is in control of this situation. Their police department is leading this investigative effort, similar to as what we saw a year ago when this happened before. He says the school is safe now. DISD has told us they're working on a reunification plan for the students who are still inside or at the football stadium behind me. But a tough to hear that 3 students were injured in this incident. We're working to learn the conditions of those students as well. But for now, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, cool. And just to that last point, you mentioned about the reunification. We did just get confirmation from Dallas ISD that parents and guardians can now pick up their students and reunify with their students at Eagles Stadium. That's the stadium right there on Langdon Road. We saw a lot of the students on the bleachers there, hanging out at the stadium where they left after being evacuated from the school. So again, we're getting confirmation parents are now being allowed to reunify with their children. You can see some of the students there on the bleachers there. So if you are a family member, if you know someone impacted by this, let them know that they are now being allowed to go to Eagles Stadium to be reunified with their child.
And Dallas ISD is also asking those parents to bring a photo ID with them, and there are counselors on site, the district says, if they are needed. Let's go now to Jobin Puneker. He has some new information from Dallas Fire Rescue. Jobin?
Yeah, I just got a chance to talk with David Evans. As you can imagine, it's a very fluid situation here. So we're trying to catch people as they're walking in and out of this scene. You see David Evans here now walking. I just had a chance to talk with him really briefly. He's passing our screen right now. He's the PIO for Dallas Fire Rescue. He tells me, here's what we have. 4 people have been taken to nearby hospitals, all non-life-threatening injuries. 4 people taken to the hospital, all non-life-threatening injuries. I asked if they were all students. He says he does not have that information at this point. 3 of those victims have been taken to Baylor Hospital. 1 victim has been taken to Methodist. That's what we're hearing so far here at the scene. Again, 4 non-life-threatening injuries, 3 taken to Baylor, 1 taken to Methodist. We'll try to get some more information and bring it back to you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Jobin. Again, we have multiple crews there on the scene now. I want to get out to my colleague, Brittany Moncrief. Give us an idea, Brittany, sort of where you are in terms of the school and what you're seeing and hearing out there right now.
That's right. Well, we're actually on the back end of the school. We're right between the Wilmer-Hutchins High School and the elementary school. And here we have some students that are actually waiting outside and parents waiting outside to reunite with students. We just talked with the student a little while ago. She was a bit shaken up, so she didn't want to go on camera. But if we can pan over to the high school there, she told us that she was in her English class, which is on the far end of the high school, when she heard about 5 gunshots go off. That's when a group of the high school students ran out of the school and ran over to the elementary school where we are right now, and that's why we have some high school students who are here. Again, there's parents that are waiting right outside the door here of the elementary school, here to pick up their children. Also, just those high school students. Now, one has reunited with her mother. We again tell you that she's very shaken up about this. She says she heard those gunshots and it was coming from where she says sounded like near the cafeteria area, but she wasn't for sure. All she knows is that when she heard at least 5 gunshots, she said she and other students in her English class took off running and they came here to the elementary school. And so we do see a line of parents. Last year, when there was an incident, a shooting that happened here at Wilmer-Hutchins High School, this was the area where a lot of parents were picking up students. So we're back at this same location here. You can see the long line of vehicles. These are parents waiting to reunite with their students. We've been seeing some walk over. And again, it's important to realize, too, that with the elementary school and high school students, some of these parents have students that are at both schools. So some are coming over this way hoping to reunite with their students as well.
Brittany, that's good information. Thanks for that. And just to reiterate what we learned a moment ago, Chris, from Job and from Cole and from the Mayor Pro Tem Tanel Atkins, who represents District 8 there, the southeast side of the city. 4 people injured. We were getting that from our sources a little earlier, too. Mm-hmm. The good news here is these are non-life-threatening injuries, but there's something important there with what Job had found out. 3 of those 4 went to Baylor, downtown Baylor Scott and White, which is a level 1 trauma center. They would naturally go there just in case.
Proximity.
It's the closest level 1 trauma center. The other patient went to a Methodist hospital in North Oak Cliff there in the Bishop Arts area, kind of Kessler Park area too. That too is a level 1 trauma center. They kind of spread things out. But the good news is these are non-life-threatening injuries. Only 1 of those 4, to our understanding from our reporters in the field, was shot, and that person was shot in the leg. But again, all non-life-threatening injuries. What's substantial to me here is the
All right, we've had events that have shifted. First, we heard 1 student. Now we have finally gotten a confirmation that 3 students were hurt in this shooting at Wilmer-Hutchins High School in Dallas, Texas. Seems like the scene has calmed down, but as you are hearing these anchors commentate about, students are still trying to make their way to parents, and it seems like some parents have students at either school that happens to be on site. So this reunification process goes on. Obviously, a lot of fear, anxiety, and questions are still out there as to what happened. We were hearing just about 10 to 20 minutes ago, WFAA commenting about the situation similar to this happening about a year ago, a year almost to the day, a situation like this happening again. We did hear the district representative speak a little bit about that incident from about a year or 2 ago. So we will continue to monitor the situation as this is ever evolving. This is what WCNC Plus here on Live Impact News in the studio is great for. We're bringing you real-time updates and giving them directly to you as this happens. We'll check back in a couple of minutes.
Was exactly how the person got into the school, or if someone from outside the school definitely made it inside in that way. But again, that is what the District 8 council member is hearing from what he's been told so far.
4 people injured, 3 of them taken to Baylor Scott and White in downtown Dallas, and that's where Kevin Reese is right now. Kevin, what can you tell us?
Hearing the same numbers that you are, Jason, that 3 of those victims with those non-life-threatening injuries were brought here to Baylor. We're outside the ER. For those of you who don't know, this is on the Deep Ellum side of downtown Dallas. We're at Worth and Hall Streets. We will show you one perhaps indicator here. We've been told that some of these victims have already been brought to Baylor here in Deep Ellum. There is what appears to be a rather unusually large police presence, not just with hospital security, but with DPD as well, outside the emergency room here at Baylor Scott and White. We are still waiting to hear from the hospital itself, although they are directing most of our questions back to Dallas Police. But we can tell you that there were no people brought here by helicopter. The injuries were not considered that serious. People were being brought here. 3, we have been told, brought here by ground ambulance with those non-life-threatening injuries. And then the other victim, a 4th victim, taken to Methodist on the other side of town, south of I-30. But as we look here, many ambulances have come and gone. This is a very busy location, regardless of what is going on in the city of Dallas. But right now, we are being told that 3 of the victims, we don't know if those are teenagers or adults, brought here, and a 4th, also with non-life-threatening injuries, taken to Methodist on the south side of Dallas. Back to you.
All right. Kevin Reese, thank you for that perspective as well. We'll check back in with you in just a second, but I want to loop back in with Dia Wall, because she was standing there as a lot of the parents were waiting to be able to let through the checkpoint to be able to get reunited with their children. Dia, what's the situation right now?
Well, they just moved us, y'all, so we were closer to where this line of parents has started to form, who are all trying to get there because the kids, it looks like, are inside Eagle Stadium, but we're backed off because they don't want us on school property, so we have to scoot back. But as you can see, I would estimate there may be close to 100 or more parents out here waiting to get the kids. Now, you may remember I told you that they're going to have to come up, they're going to have to show their ID, and then they're going to have to match them to the kids who are there to be released. But the scene as far as where they're going to be releasing these kids is pretty large right now. You have that line, the street that was blocked off down there, about a half a mile. But then if you swing around all the way on the other side, you can see here's the elementary school, it looks like, and some of the other parent reunifications that are happening. You see the emergency vehicles. I mean, they're lined up probably for a mile on the street, but you're seeing some of the hugs from afar. You're starting to see, we just saw a mom walk by who said, you know, she already had her baby, she said, but she was helping a new parent at the school figure out how to navigate this, how to go get their child after the shooting earlier this afternoon. And so we're starting to see some of the folks come out after those reunifications, but this process is moving pretty slow. So we're going to do our best to kind of find some more people and bring them to you. And when we do, we'll hop back on.
Okay, thank you, Dia. Yeah, that elementary school is literally like 2/10 of a mile from the high school. It's right down Lemon Road from where the high school is.
Yeah, just on the south side of Wilmer-Hutchins High School. Brittany Moncrief is there. She was there a few moments ago, and she is talking to parents now. A pretty dramatic story you're hearing right now. Brittany, tell us about it.
That's right. We actually are with Lawrence, whose son is in the school, and he actually was one of those students who ran when he heard the gunshots and jumped out the window and came here to the elementary school. Lawrence, tell me a little bit of what your son was telling you.
Well, he told me he was in class in the A hall. He heard 2 to 6 shots ring out coming from around the B hall. So his teacher, whose class he was in, closed the door, in which allowed him and more students to jump out the window and seek shelter at the school next door.
As a parent, how are you feeling that your son just went through this?
Yeah, my oldest boy, he just went through it when he was a senior here last year, so now his brother is going through it as a freshman. You know, something has to be done. And all of the kids now, you know, at the stadium, and parents are having a hard time at getting to their kids to pick them up. So, like, it's just, yeah, it's things all over the place.
Yeah, I see you shaking your head. Is there frustration there?
Yeah, of course. Like, it's 2 years in a row. Like, something has to be done. There's such, like, you know, you go to drop off something, you got to show your ID, you got to go through several things to get in as parents, but, like, now, you know, a gunman can slide through the crack, I guess.
Yeah, and how do you feel? I know your son is safe. You were able to reunite with him.
Yeah. All is well now for me, but, you know, I can't say the same for all the other parents out here.
And then thank you again for speaking with us. And I'm glad you are safe and your son is safe and that you all were able to reunite back with each other. So, and that's just one of the many stories that we're finding here. Again, over at the elementary school, there's a group of high school students who immediately took off running when they heard those gunshots go off, and they ran here to the elementary, and that's where there's a line of parents still waiting to reunite with their children. Some of them high school students, some of them are the elementary schools, and we'll stand out here and continue to talk to parents and students as more are reunited with their families. Chris?
And Brittany, just a quick question. I just want to go back to something that he just said. He had a son at school last year, senior year. He goes through a school shooting, rushes to the school, makes sure his son is okay. The son graduates. His younger child is now a freshman, and he's back at the very same school going through the exact same thing. It's hard to understand how that could happen.
It is, Chris, and you know, there's a lot of questions that parents have here, and that one question there is how? You know, how could this happen again? As you mentioned, this one parent, his son went through it last year, his senior year, and now his freshman son is going through the same thing, and it's almost just 3 days after the date from last year, which was April 12th. We're April 15th, and so this is almost just a year later. A similar incident has happened again, so naturally parents are frustrated, and they have a lot of questions, and they want to know why.
Brittany, you were outside the elementary school. I believe it's just right around the corner from you, right there. I'm sure it went on lockdown as soon as this happened at the high school, which is just north of it. There, they share the same property. But is it regular dismissal, from what you can tell, there at the elementary school as well?
For what I can tell, and we can actually pan over to show you some of the elementary school here. Right now, we haven't seen any of the elementary school students come out that we've seen. There's a few students out there, but we're not sure if they were brought out from in this particular school. Mostly those that are standing near the door there are parents, and another student told me that the parents are waiting there so that way they can get to their children, but we haven't quite yet seen a lot of people with their children and reuniting with their children over there. Not a lot of movement, but definitely on this side there's parents that's been walking. They've been walking all up and through between the elementary school and the high school, and some of them have been able to reunite with their students, but then there's others that are still waiting, and so that's where we're standing right now. We'll keep an eye on that elementary school too, and we haven't had a chance to go over there just yet, but we're going to go over there to see if any of the students have been able to reunite with their families and their parents on the elementary school side as well.
Brittany, good work. As Brittany Moncrief out there, she is in between the high school at Wilmer-Hutchins and the elementary school there. Great work. You know, last year this time, Chris, you and I were talking about hearing from Dr. Stephanie Elizalde, who's the superintendent, fantastic superintendent at Dallas ISD. But I think one of her quotes last year was, "Dallas got lucky today." And here we are a year later, Dallas got lucky again. At some point, if something's not done, luck is going to run out. And that speaks to why Dia is hearing so much tension from parents out there waiting to be reunified, why Brittany just heard that as well too, and why so many parents, not only at the high school, but right behind at the elementary school, are no doubt scared to death when this news happened right after lunch.
Yeah, I mean, they got the reassurances last year.
Right.
They had the community meetings with Maxie Johnson, the Dallas ISD trustee, who tried to bring some folks together to talk about what could be done to improve security. So after hearing it last year and then a year later, you're going through the same thing. Frustration probably is too nice of a word for how they're feeling right now. We did just get a statement from Congressman Jasmine Crockett. Naturally, she says she is heartbroken to learn of yet another shooting at Wilmer-Hutchins. She said that no child should fear for their life at school. No teacher should have to barricade a classroom door. And let me be clear, this is not normal. This is not acceptable. So again, that's Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett talking about what's happened today at Wilmer-Hutchins.
So here we are about 3 hours after this incident happened. There are 4 people who are injured. 3 of them are at Baylor, Scott and White, downtown Dallas, non-life-threatening injuries. 1 is at Methodist Hospital in North Oak Cliff, non-life-threatening as well too. We understand at least 1 of those 4 people were shot. How that suspect, who apparently police know who that is, according to the Mayor Pro Tem of Dallas, Tanel Atkins, how that suspect got into the school or got a firearm into the school is still kind of up in the air. The Mayor Pro Tem said he was told by law enforcement that someone opened a locked door at that school to allow somebody inside. If that is the case, it's certainly another situation that the school district is going to have to figure out how to get this settled. This happened right after lunch though, and here we are 3 hours later, and it's going to be an active scene for hours to come. A few ways you can tell that. We saw a few moments ago in the helicopter footage, tables set up right in the front. A crate of water, a pallet full of water is out there too. So as parents are coming to reunify with their students, you see there on the bleachers at the football stadium on the south side of Wilmer-Hutchins High School, it is going to be a long investigative night for Dallas police, for Dallas ISD police, for Wilmer police, for Dallas County, everyone else who's helping out with this. We understand the ATF is even there just to lend a hand if necessary. So federal agents from downtown Dallas have also gone down there to help in this situation, to get to the bottom of how a student was shot at Wilmer-Hutchins. The best news of all this is that student is non-life threatening. It's not a critical shooting, but still parents have answers, have questions, and they deserve answers.
Yeah, and as you take a look now at some of the students who are lined up there on some of the bleachers there, Eagles Stadium is the reunification point for parents who want to reunite and take their child home. Again, Eagles Stadium right there on Langdon Road, that is the site that's been designated as the point where parents can now go there, and as long as you have an ID to show the officials that you can then bring your child home. Let's get back out to the scene. We have different reporters at different areas of the school and the campus. Let's get back to Cole Sullivan for a look and update at what you're seeing now, Cole.
We're still seeing some confusion out here, Chris. I want to kind of step out of the way so you can see parents are still waiting to figure out when they can pick up their students or trying to find the right place to do so. And we just saw this group walk through. These are parents who were over near the elementary school, as Brittany just pointed out, they had been told, some of them, to get in their cars and drive all the way around this campus to the backside to the football field where they can pick up their students. Now it appears that police have changed at least that path and are bringing a group of these parents across the kind of field in front of the school, walking them over towards the football field where they can be reunified with their students. These are groups of parents who were gathered outside of the elementary school. Some students, it appears, who were also outside of the elementary school, maybe who had gone over that direction. They're walking over this way. This is a change from what we saw just 3, 4, 5 minutes ago, where officers were pointing, telling parents they have to drive around the other direction in order to get their kids, and parents were not happy with that. Some said they had been told by other officers to come to this south end of campus. Some said that they were just trying to get to their kid. They wanted to get to their kid this direction. Officers were saying, sorry, we can't help you. And we even had some parents shouting expletives as they marched away from these officers who told them to walk, to go the other direction. This was one of the things that we heard from parents in the immediate aftermath of the shooting a year ago this week at this school, upset about the reunification process and the response to that process. Now we can see this slowly but surely starting to play out here live on this front field in front of the campus as parents are being led across towards that football field to be with their students. And look, you can see some are even being turned away from that football field now and told to walk in this other direction. I'm sure as parents that's a frustrating thing to see happen when you know your kids are over there, to be able to walk over this direction. We're trying to see, we're seeing this as you are, so we're trying to see where they're directing these parents to go. Walking around and in front of the school now, towards the front of the school here. You see one mom out in front running as fast as she can over that direction, like she's trying to get to her kid as fast as possible, as you might understand all of these parents feel at this point, kind of on a little bit of a roundabout loop to trying to get to where authorities here are pointing them towards. This process, I'm going to be honest, just watching it play here does not look orderly, as parents are kind of roaming through campus. Right now, it appears walking through towards the front of the campus and trying to get to their kids. They're walking now the opposite direction from that stadium. Not sure if maybe their children are in a different location and walking through this, but from a perspective of seeing all the authorities and law enforcement here, some are escorting them along the side, trying to walk them this direction. We also saw what appeared to be teachers as well with badges on who are walking with them this direction. This was something that had apparently been worked out in front of the elementary school before they all marched over this direction and were escorted underneath that crime scene tape and are now, as you can see, kind of all marching their way in front of Wilmer-Hutchins High School here. This is just one aspect of what's going to be playing out over the next few hours, which is reunification of parents and students and loved ones who are trying to figure out what to do and where they can go. You see this mom here carrying a small child as she's trying to walk this direction to get as fast as she can to her kids and to her loved ones here on the campus of Wilmer-Hutchins. Something that, like I said, we're going to see playing out over the next few hours as well. We'll keep an eye on it and keep you updated on what we hear from